Have you ever gone to bed exhausted, yet your mind refuses to switch off? Your body wants to sleep, but your thoughts keep circling, replaying the day, anticipating tomorrow, holding on to worries that should never have followed you to bed. The more you try to rest, the louder the inner noise becomes. Take a breath and listen to me. You are not here by accident. These 3 hours of Stoic advice that calm your mind are meant to help you release that silent struggle keeping you awake. Not to motivate you, not to demand more from you, but to return the calm you need when night falls. The Stoics understood something we often forget. True rest does not begin when you close your eyes, but when you stop fighting what you cannot control. It is not the day itself that steals your sleep. It is how you continue carrying it long after everything should have come to a stop. When you let go of that resistance, the mind lowers its volume, and the body does what it naturally knows how to do: rest. Tonight, you do not have to understand everything or make any effort. Just listen. Let these ancient ideas accompany you as your body relaxes and sleep arrives without force. Get comfortable, breathe, and let us begin. Before we continue, if this space is helping you quiet your mind, subscribe so you can return to it whenever the night feels heavy. And tell me something simple in the comments. What time would you like to be asleep tonight? Before we continue, let me tell you a story that explains why letting go does not only calm your life, but your nights as well. This is the story of a young woman named Elena. Elena lived tired even before she got out of bed. She opened her eyes each morning with the feeling that she had not rested at all, as if the night had been nothing more than an uncomfortable pause between one day and the next. Her phone buzzed, the alarm insisted, and her mind was already reviewing emails, messages, unfinished arguments, lingering reproaches. Her body got up, but her mind had never truly slept. During the day, she was always in a hurry. Work, expectations, the constant sensation of being late for everything. One ordinary Tuesday, she got stuck in traffic on her way to the office. The cars barely moved. Her phone kept vibrating with messages from her boss asking where she was, and anxiety began rising from her stomach to her chest. She hit the steering wheel in frustration and muttered that she did not have time for this. Every day felt like a battle against the clock, against the unexpected, and against herself for not being able to keep up with it all. But the worst part did not happen during the day. It came at night. When she finally lay down in bed, her body was exhausted, but her mind kept running. Thoughts that would not quiet down, mental lists for the next morning, past mistakes, fears that appeared the moment she turned off the light. Sleep had become just another task she could not seem to control. One afternoon, sitting in a cafe with a cup of coffee already cold in front of her, and her gaze lost in thought, an older woman sitting nearby noticed her expression and said gently that she looked as if she were carrying the entire world on her shoulders. Elena forced a polite smile, and the woman continued, explaining that she had once lived the same way, believing she had to control everything, until she realized that control was only an illusion. At first, Elena did not understand. She asked how anyone was supposed to stop worrying about everything. The woman calmly replied that it was not about stopping worry altogether, but about accepting that there are things you will never control and learning to let them go. That sentence echoed in Elena's mind for days, especially at night when she found herself staring at the ceiling once again. One of those nights, lying in bed, the usual impulse returned. Grab the phone, check tomorrow's agenda, anticipate everything that might go wrong. But she remembered the woman's words and asked herself a different question. What would happen if, just for tonight, she tried to solve nothing? She stared at the ceiling, restless, her mind jumping from one concern to another, until she admitted that the opposite approach had not been working either. She took a deep breath, and for the first time in a long while, allowed herself to control nothing. Just for that night. The next morning, she noticed something subtle but real. It was not that her problems had vanished, but the tight knot in her chest was not as tense. In traffic, she felt the familiar surge of irritation trying to take over, but instead of fighting what she could not change, She turned on some music and accepted that she would arrive when she arrived. At work, when another urgent email appeared, she paused before replying and realized she could do her job well without sacrificing her inner peace. The most surprising change happened at night. She began to sleep better. Not perfectly, not instantly, but better. Her mind took less time to quiet down because it no longer carried to bed everything she could not control. A few days later, her partner looked at her in surprise when she closed her laptop earlier than usual and sat beside him to watch a movie. Not because she had less to do, but because she had stopped trying to carry everything at once. And then something unexpected happened. The world did not collapse. The emails kept coming. The problems still existed. But Elena no longer felt enslaved by them. Her performance improved, her headaches faded, and the night returned to being a refuge instead of a battlefield. That was when she understood that control had never been the key. She remembered a teaching from Epictetus that now made complete sense. Do not seek for things to happen as you wish, but wish for things to happen as they do happen, and you will go on well. Elena smiled, realizing she had spent years complicating her life, and even her sleep, simply because she refused to let go. And now I ask you, my friend, how many more nights will you carry to bed problems that were never in your hands to begin with? Perhaps, as the Stoics taught, true peace and real rest begin the moment you stop fighting and allow the night to do its work. Lesson 1. Learn to dance in the rain. My friend, life is not about waiting for the storm to pass. It's about learning to enjoy the rain. Because whether you like it or not, the storms will come. Gray days are inevitable. And if every time they appear you freeze, hide, or get frustrated, you'll spend your life waiting for a sun that doesn't always shine when you need it. Look at the animals. Do you think a wolf stops hunting because it's raining? That a bird waits for the skies to clear before looking for food? Of course not. They keep going because they know that if they stop, they won't survive. And you, my friend, are much stronger than you think. But to prove it, you need to learn how to move forward even when conditions aren't perfect. We get frustrated over ridiculous things without even realizing it. You prepare your breakfast calmly and bam! Your toast falls to the floor, of course, landing butter side down. And suddenly it feels like your whole day is off to a bad start. Or you go to the store with your neatly organized shopping list, and the one ingredient you really need is out of stock. No, of course you can't substitute it, because in your mind, you had already imagined the perfect recipe, and any change would ruin everything. Or worse, you arrive at the theater, excited about the movie, but someone in the audience has decided their laugh is worthy of an opera performance, and now you can't focus. You spend more time annoyed than actually enjoying the film you came to see. And the truth is, most of the time, it's not life making our day harder. It's us choosing to let small things ruin it. So why not learn to laugh a little more? It's not that hard. Think about what Epictetus said. We cannot choose our circumstances, but we can choose our attitude toward them. How can you apply this to your life? You can't change the fact that your toast fell, but you can decide whether to be upset or just make another one. You can't control what's in the grocery store, but you can control how you respond. The key isn't in what happens, it's in how you interpret it. So let's put this into practice. How do you do this in real life? Imagine this. You're on a first date. You've been planning it for days, picked the perfect spot, even rehearsed some conversations in your head to keep things flowing. You arrive at the restaurant and it's closed for renovations. You improvise and go to a nearby place, but just as you sit down, you realize you've had a bit of sauce on your shirt the entire time. And to top it off, when you step outside, a passing car splashes through a puddle, leaving you soaked from head to toe. You have two choices. You can get mad, tell yourself you're having the worst day ever, and let it ruin your mood completely. Or you can do something radically different. Laugh. Yes, laugh at the situation. Because life sometimes is a comedy. Because the image of you trying to dry your shirt with a napkin, attempting to hide the stain, and then getting drenched by a puddle is straight out of a movie. And tell me, what do you think the other person will remember more? your bad luck, or the way you handled it with humor. Because in the end, the way you deal with unexpected situations says far more about you than any rehearsed conversation. Here's another trick. Trade complaints for confidence. Yes, nothing went as planned, but so what? The important thing isn't the restaurant, the clean shirt, or whether the weather cooperated. What matters is how you connect with the other person, how you enjoy the moment. And if life teaches us anything, it's that the best stories don't come from perfect plans. They come from the unexpected. So instead of thinking, what a disaster, think, what a great story I'll have to tell later. You can't control everything, but you can learn to dance in the rain. Because life isn't about avoiding the puddles. It's about learning to walk through them without losing your smile. And who knows, maybe that date that seemed completely ruined ends up being one of the best of your life. Lesson 2. Use the hits to make yourself stronger. Picture an ordinary day. A teenage girl gets on a bus, school bag on her shoulder, shy smile on her face. Just another morning, until in a split second her life changes forever. A man with a gun walks up and shoots, trying to silence her voice. That girl was Malala Yousafzai, and all she had done was defend the right of girls to go to school. For anyone else, that kind of blow would have been enough to give up. She could have stayed hidden, afraid to ever speak up again. But no, she turned that bullet into a megaphone, into a cause that now inspires millions. Do you see how powerful a blow can be when you decide not to let it destroy you, but to let it transform you? That's the real lesson. Life will hit you. That part's not up to you. What is up to you is what you do with every blow. Do you crawl away, or do you stand back up, stronger than before? That's the difference between someone who barely survives and someone who grows with every hardship. During his campaign against the northern tribes, Marcus Aurelius spent long, cold nights filled with bad news, deserters, outbreaks of disease, betrayal back at the palace. He didn't have a cozy office or time to complain. He had a tent, a lamp, and his journal. In it, he reminded himself that a noble man should be like a rock that the waves crash against. The foam hits, roars, rises up. But the rock stands firm. He didn't write to impress anyone. He wrote to train himself. Every hit of the day became material to sharpen his character. And what an emperor did, a slave also practiced. Epictetus was born in chains. He endured humiliation, punishment, a leg permanently damaged. Anyone would have said, "It's over." But not him. He chose something else. He chose to turn each wound into discipline. That's why he kept repeating, "It's not events that crush us. It's the story we tell ourselves about them." His scars weren't excuses. They were reminders. If he couldn't change the outside world, he'd make the inner world unbreakable. Now think about something closer to home. Imagine you run a business and lose your most important client. That one client made up nearly half your revenue, and overnight, it's gone. The first hit is brutal. You wonder how you're going to recover. It feels like all your effort just vanished. But if you choose to see it differently, there's your chance to study what went wrong, diversify your income, and strengthen what's already working. Instead of staying stuck in regret, you can act like a Stoic. You can use that loss as a springboard to build a stronger version of your project. Of course, it doesn't happen overnight. This takes training. How? Let's say you just lost that big client. Your first instinct is to sit there in frustration, rehash how unfair it was, maybe blame the other side. Stop. Breathe. Write down exactly what happened. That's your first entry in your resilience manual. Were there signs they weren't fully satisfied? Did you let communication slip? Were you relying too much on just one contract? Writing it down forces you to see clearly instead of drowning in emotion. Next, step 2. Turn that lesson into a concrete action. If the issue was overdependence on one client, your next task is to diversify. If it was poor communication, define a new way to follow up with your clients. Every fall leaves behind a map, so you don't trip the same way next time. And the most important part, Don't wait until you feel ready to apply what you've learned. Fear is always going to be there. If you wait for it to go away, you'll never take the next step. Start as soon as the lesson is clear. Even if your voice shakes, even if you're unsure, that's real training because no muscle grows without weight. My friend, I want you to see it this way. Every hardship is like a private class designed just for you. You don't choose the teacher or the schedule or the subject, but if you decide to show up for that class, you walk away with knowledge no one can take from you. And over time, that knowledge makes you invincible. Someone who doesn't need life to be easy in order to live in peace. Think about steel. It's not forged with soft touches or in a quiet room. It's forged with hits, hammer strikes, and intense heat. And it's exactly that process that gives it its strength, what makes it indestructible. The same goes for you. Every hit you take, if you choose it wisely, can become the fire that tempers you and makes you stronger than before. Lesson 3. Breathe and take back control. The game is on. The air is heavy around the table. The players study their cards, but true experts don't look at the hand. They watch their opponents. In poker, the winner isn't always the one with the best cards, but the one who knows how to play them. Beginners give themselves away with every breath, every nervous movement, every drop of sweat on their forehead. But professionals, they don't blink. They don't show impatience. They don't let anyone read their mind. Because they know that in poker, just like in life, the one who loses control loses the game. Now swap the poker chips for words. The table for a real-life argument. Someone challenges you, provokes you, tries to drag you into their emotional game. If you take the bait, if you react without thinking, if you explode on impulse, you've already lost. But if you stay calm, if you breathe before acting, if you choose your reaction instead of giving it away, then you hold the power. Picture this. You're in an argument. Your heart races, your blood boils, words pile up in your throat, ready to fire. You feel attacked, misunderstood, and every part of you screams to react. Defend yourself. Respond. Don't stay silent, but wait, pause. Because this is where everything is decided. You can explode and say the first thing that comes to mind, or you can do something the Stoics mastered. Stay calm. And no, this isn't just about avoiding embarrassment in an argument. It's the difference between being trapped in impulsive reactions or taking control of your life and moving closer to success. Marcus Aurelius practiced this daily. If he hadn't, his empire would have crumbled in no time. That's why he said, calm yet determined, cheerful yet steady. That is the man who follows reason in all things. That's the key. Your mind can be your greatest ally or your worst enemy. It all depends on whether you control it or let it control you. And in moments of stress and tension, what's the first thing you should do? Take charge of your breathing. It may seem too simple, but listen. Whoever doesn't control their breathing doesn't control their mind, and whoever doesn't control their mind can't control their life. So next time you feel like you're about to lose control, use these tips to stay calm. First, the 4-7-8 technique. It's simple. Inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 7, exhale for 8. Why does it work? Because it forces your body to relax. It's like hitting the reset button on your nervous system. Also, have a little compassion. If someone snaps at you with anger or frustration, chances are it's not because of what you just said. It's something much deeper that you can't even see. Maybe they're having a bad day, a bad life, or they simply don't know how to handle their own thoughts. And here's where you have the advantage. You get to decide whether to step into their chaos or not. Because in the end, the one who shouts loses, and the one who stays calm wins. My friend, remember this. When life pressures you, don't react. Breathe first, decide later. Because real success doesn't belong to those who let their first impulse take over. It belongs to those who know how to wait, think, and act with precision. Lesson 4. Do you prefer to be right or to have inner peace? I'll make it simple for you. Every time you argue, you have 2 options. You can prove you're right or you can keep your peace. The answer seems obvious, right? And yet, most people choose to lose their peace just to win the argument. Why? Because the ego is insatiable, it craves validation, it needs to dominate, it needs to prove it's superior. But the real question is it really worth it? How many times have you won an argument and still felt empty? How many times have you proven you were right, only to be left with a bitter feeling? That's the ego's trap. It promises you victory, but in the end, it leaves you stranded. The Stoics understood this well. If you argue with a fool, there are two fools arguing. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "Let others argue about being good or bad. You simply do what is right and stay calm." Because true strength is not about overpowering others, but about not letting others pull you into their storm. Think back to a time when you got into a pointless argument, maybe with a friend, your partner, a coworker. At some point, it wasn't even about who was right anymore. You just wanted to win. But when the conversation ended, how did you feel? Was it really worth it? I doubt it. It's like drinking salt water when you're thirsty. For a moment, it seems to quench you, but in the end, it only leaves you thirstier. Sometimes the price of being right is too high, and the worst part isn't just the mental exhaustion from arguing. It's the anger that lingers in your chest. It's the pride that won't let you move on. It's the tension in your body that steals your peace. A study from the University of Michigan found that people who argue constantly have higher levels of stress and anxiety and suffer a decline in their personal relationships. Winning arguments doesn't make you happier, it makes you more miserable. If something doesn't bring you peace, let it go. If someone insists on being right, let them win. If an argument only takes away your tranquility, don't engage. Does this mean you should never stand up for yourself? No. It means you should choose your battles wisely. If your dignity is at stake, defend yourself with calmness. If it's just your pride at stake, let it go. Here are 3 practical tips to choose peace over the need to be right. Learn to stay silent. Not every provocation deserves a response. Let the noise die on its own. Ask yourself, is this really worth my energy? If the answer is no, shut the door before the argument even begins. And remember, your peace is worth more than a "you were right." You gain nothing by proving your point if you lose your calm in the process. This isn't about being weak. It's about being wise. So next time you're about to enter an argument, ask yourself this: do I want to prove something, or do I want to be at peace? A true Stoic knows the answer. Lesson 5. Sometimes you win, sometimes you learn. Yes, my friend, it's hard to accept, but that's life. Sometimes you win, and other times, and you get a lesson you never asked for. And I know in the moment it doesn't feel like a lesson. It feels like a direct hit to your pride, your confidence, your motivation. But here's the secret. What looks like failure today might be the key piece that makes you invincible tomorrow. Let me tell you how I learned this lesson myself. Some time ago, I was in a long-term relationship. We had talked about the future, the house we would live in, the trips we would take together. Everything seemed to be in place, until suddenly it wasn't. Well, it didn't just fall apart. I was betrayed, and I didn't just lose the relationship. I lost the entire plan I had built in my head. I felt completely lost. It was hard to accept that something I had put so much effort into could just crumble like that. I was frustrated, angry, even convinced that I would never trust anyone again. But over time, I realized that mistake wasn't the end. It was the push I needed to improve, to understand things about myself, to see that you can't build your happiness on just one thing. It wasn't easy to see at the time, but now I know it was one of the experiences that made me grow the most. And if you look back, I'm sure you have a story like that too. Something that seemed like the worst hit, but over time, showed you a lesson you wouldn't have learned any other way. And this isn't something that happens just to you or me. Look at Michael Jordan, one of the greatest players in history. He missed over 9,000 shots in his career. He lost nearly 300 games. And 26 times he was trusted with the game-winning shot and missed. And what did he do? Did he give up? No, of course not. He learned. Every mistake made him stronger. Every failure brought him closer to success. Because the people who truly succeed in life aren't the ones who never fail. They're the ones who keep trying until failure is no longer an option. Seneca made this clear centuries ago. We suffer more in our imagination than in reality, and if you think about it, he was absolutely right. You probably spend a lot of time assuming the worst, believing that one mistake is the end of the world, that nothing will ever go your way. But in reality, failure is just information. It's a message telling you, this didn't work, try another way. It's not a judgment, it's not a sentence, it's just data. And science backs this up. Neuroscientist Wendy Suzuki, author of Good Anxiety, has proven that every time we make a mistake, our brain rewires itself. New connections light up, areas related to creativity and problem-solving activate. It's as if every failure is a small workout that makes us sharper, smarter, and better prepared. Think of it like sharpening a sword. If you never pass it over the stone, if you never expose it to wear and tear, it becomes useless. But each time you sharpen it, each time you refine it with precision, it becomes stronger, more resilient, and more lethal. The same happens with you. Every setback, every mistake is the stone that polishes you, that prepares you for greater challenges. So the next time something doesn't go your way, you won't break. Because you're going to remember this and use it to your advantage. When things go wrong, act like a detective, not a victim. Instead of taking it as a personal attack, analyze the clues. What went wrong? Where can you improve? A chef who burns a dish doesn't say, "I'm a disaster." He says, "Next time I'll lower the heat." Do the same with your mistakes. Trade drama for strategy. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" ask, "How can I use this to my advantage?" Imagine you get fired from a job. You could spend weeks feeling sorry for yourself, or you could see it as a sign that it's time to find something better. The difference between sinking or coming back stronger lies in how you frame the situation. Learn to see mistakes as a GPS recalculating your route. If you take a wrong turn, it doesn't mean the journey is over. It just means you need to adjust your path. Because in life, you either win or you learn. The only way to lose is if you decide to give up. And you, my friend, didn't come this far just to quit. Sixth lesson. Let go of pointless battles. Let me ask you something, and be honest. How many times have you lost your peace over a ridiculous comment? How many arguments have you gotten into just for the pride of proving you were right? And here's the hard part. How many of those fights do you still remember with anger, even though they left you with nothing but exhaustion? My friend, it's simple. Most of the time, we end up fighting wars we should have never started. Picture this. You're in a WhatsApp group with coworkers. Everything's fine until someone writes, "People who work from home do half the work. They're just lazy freeloaders." You read that, and your blood boils, because you've been working remotely for months and you know how much effort it takes. So without thinking it through, you reply, "That's not true. Studies show productivity is actually higher. I get more done from home than many do in the office." You think that settles it. But no, that's just the beginning of the war. He replies within a minute. "Yeah, right," says someone who just doesn't want to get up early or deal with a boss. And now you can't stop. You start sending links to studies, news articles, statistics. Each message is longer, more detailed, more intense. You feel the need to prove you're not lazy, that your work matters. And instead of backing off, he keeps poking. Stop justifying yourself. Remote work is for the comfortable. 20 minutes go by. You haven't eaten dinner. You're glued to your phone, heart racing, sending messages like you're defending your honor in court. Part of you knows you won't convince him, but another part insists that if you let him have the last word, you've lost. And what do you get? By midnight, the group is full of messages. You're exhausted, your head pounding, and your coworker closes the whole thing with, "Well, everyone makes up whatever suits them." You close the chat, but you can't sleep. You're still replaying everything you should have said. Now breathe and ask yourself, what would have happened if, instead of taking the bait, you'd read that comment and set your phone down to enjoy your dinner? You'd have eaten in peace, slept better, and woken up with the energy to focus on what really matters. That unbelievable as it may seem, would have been a much greater victory than winning the argument. Psychology backs this up. Researchers at Stanford published a study called Selective Conflict Regulation, which showed that people who learn to choose which arguments to engage in and which to let go of experience less chronic stress and build healthier relationships over time. So it's not about avoiding conflict entirely, it's about filtering it. Ask yourself, is this really worth spending my peace on? How can you apply this in your daily life with modern Stoic strategies? First, shift your intention from winning to softening. If someone tries to drag you into a useless debate, say something like, "I agree it's a topic worth discussing," and leave it at that. You disarm them without stepping into the ring. Second, use phrases that acknowledge the other person without joining their battle. For example, "I understand this matters to you." You're not backing down, you're closing the door without slamming it. Third, the absurd exit. When someone tries to provoke you, respond with something so off the wall it breaks the rhythm. Humor disarms people faster than logic. And fourth, the most powerful one, walk away with dignity. Say, "In the end, it's my choice," and move on. Not because you're avoiding the issue, but because you're choosing not to hand over your peace to a fight that doesn't deserve it. Marcus Aurelius said it clearly in his Meditations. Do not waste what's left of your life arguing about what others do or say. And he didn't write that from the comfort of a peaceful home. He was an emperor surrounded by scheming senators, problems from soldiers, and enemies looking to provoke him. He could have answered them all, but he knew that would drain him. So he chose to save his energy for what mattered: governing, reflecting, and tending to his soul. That's the kind of discipline that defines a Stoic. So tell me, what's the point of spending your entire day trying to convince your brother-in-law about politics, replying to your boss's sarcastic comment, or debating a stranger on the internet there isn't one? Every time you enter those battles, you're giving away your serenity. And the irony is, even when you win, you lose. Because you didn't choose the fight, they did. What truly changes everything is learning to keep your energy for what matters. That's the discipline and mental clarity you deserve. Because when you choose which battles to fight and which ones to let go, your whole life shifts. You move lighter. You stop wasting ammo on fireworks that light up nothing. Next time you feel the urge to jump into a pointless argument, pause and ask yourself, is this worth losing my peace over? That simple question is already an act of discipline. Because living like a Stoic isn't about winning every debate. It's about saving your strength for what truly matters. And when you do that, you'll see that 95% of your problems simply disappear, without you having to fight every single one. If today you realize that peace is more valuable than being right, write it in the comments with the phrase, "I choose my calm above all." That's how our community keeps growing stronger each day. Lesson 7. Your attention defines your reality. Tell me something. When you walk down the street, what do you focus on? Do you notice the rushing people, the traffic, the noise, the problems? Or do you see the small good things like the sun lighting up the buildings, the sound of the wind through the trees, a random smile? One thing is clear. Reality is the same for everyone, but the way you perceive it depends on where you place your attention. It's like that famous bus meme. Two people on the same journey, one looking at a breathtaking landscape and the other feeling miserable staring at a rock up close. The difference isn't the road, it's which side they chose to sit on. And life works the same way. If you only focus on the gray, on what's wrong, on what's missing, your world will always feel like a wall of stone. But if you turn your head and look in the right direction, you might realize the view was always beautiful. Will Smith once said in an interview, "If you want success, happiness, if you want to achieve any goal, you have to learn to ignore distractions and focus only on what truly matters." And that has been the key to his success. It's not about luck, it's about knowing where to direct your energy. Your attention is like an Instagram filter. Depending on the filter you use, the image changes completely. If your filter is full of complaints, worries, and problems, everything around you will seem dark and negative. But if you learn to switch filters, if you choose to see what is in your control, what you can take advantage of, your entire world transforms. Now tell me, where have you been placing your attention lately? Try this. Think of something that made you feel upset or anxious in the past few days. Was it a comment someone made? A problem at work? Something you saw on social media? How did it make you feel? Now imagine that instead of focusing on that, you had directed your attention to something positive, something that was in your control. Maybe a small achievement from your day, a moment of peace, a nice conversation you had. Do you think your mental state would have been the same? If you want to start regaining your sense of calm and focusing on what truly leads to success, first, do a mental diet. Just like you watch what you eat, you should watch what you feed your mind. Reduce the amount of negative news you consume daily. Filter the content you follow on social media. Ask yourself if what you're watching adds value or just drains your energy. Your mind is like a garden. What you water is what grows. Second, do an attention reset. When you find yourself stuck in negative thoughts, change your focus. Literally. Go for a walk, take a deep breath, look around, and find something different. If your mind is filling up with worries, change the question. Instead of thinking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask yourself, "What can I learn from this?" Third, surround yourself with people who reinforce what you want to attract. If you only spend time with people who complain, who see problems in everything, who never have a solution for anything, you'll start thinking the same way. Seek out people who inspire you, who challenge you to improve, who push you to keep your focus on what truly matters. As Epictetus said, "Where your attention goes, there is your soul." Because in the end, what you focus on is what you experience. If you train your attention to focus on what strengthens you, you will become more resilient, make better decisions, and stay calm in any situation. Lesson 8. Don't let the past chase you. How many times have you relived something that's already over, as if it were still happening? How many times have you allowed the past to steal the happiness of the present? Maybe it's a mistake you made that you still punish yourself for, even years later. Maybe it's someone who hurt you, yet you still give them space in your mind. If this feels familiar, it's not the past that torments you. It's your attachment to it. The Stoics knew this well. The past is unchangeable, but your relationship with it can change. Marcus Aurelius made this clear in Meditations. Do not wander anymore. Do not waste your life in conjectures and speculations. Hold on to this principle. Make good use of the present. Because every time you cling to what has already happened, you are stealing from yourself the opportunity to live in peace right now. Modern psychology has studied this in depth. Psychologist Rick Hanson explains that our brain is wired to remember the negative more than the positive. This is known as the negativity bias. In other words, it's not that the past is chasing you. It's that your brain stores it in a way that makes you feel like it is. But do you know the good news? You can train your brain to stop doing this. Hanson recommends 2 essential practices. The first is reframing. Change the story. Every time your mind takes you to a painful memory, shift your perspective. What did I learn from this? How did it make me stronger? The second technique is focusing on the present. Instead of dwelling on a time that no longer exists, bring your attention to now. Breathe, observe. Do something that grounds you in this moment. And if you still think letting go of the past is too hard, let me tell you something. For a long time, I was also a prisoner of my memories. There was a period in my life I couldn't move past. A mistake I made. A moment when I failed, when I hurt someone important to me. No matter how much time passed, every time I thought about it, the same weight returned to my chest. I spent entire nights replaying it in my head, imagining what I could have done differently, but nothing ever changed. I was just reliving useless suffering. Until one day, as I was walking down the street, I saw something that made me understand everything. It was a person dragging a broken suitcase, The wheels weren't working, yet instead of letting it go, they kept pulling it with effort, leaving marks on the ground. And in that moment, seeing it from the outside, I realized that's exactly what I was doing with my past, carrying it with me everywhere, dragging the unnecessary weight of guilt that wouldn't let me move forward. From that day on, I started working on letting it go. It wasn't instant, but little by little, I learned to see it without reliving it, to accept it without carrying it. And for the first time in years, I rested. If you too feel like the past is still pressing on you, stop for a moment. Ask yourself if you're still holding onto a burden that no longer serves you. Here's what I learned. You can't change what happened, but you can choose whether you keep dragging it or leave it where it belongs. The past has no power over you unless you keep feeding it. Let it go, move forward. Reclaim your peace. You deserve to rest. And now, my friend, tell me, how much suffering comes from trying to control everything? If you are someone who needs everything to go as expected, who wants people to act as you wish, who tries to make life follow your script, stay with me just a little longer. In this final point, I will give you the key to letting go of that need for control, so you can finally reach the peace and happiness you deserve. 9th lesson, life is not predictable, and that's okay. Have you ever planned the perfect day, only for everything to fall apart in a matter of minutes? You wake up on a Saturday, excited because you finally have the day off. At last, you've planned every detail, a peaceful breakfast on the terrace, a nice walk outside, and ending the day with a good series. Everything is set, and just as you're about to enjoy it, boom! A storm rolls in, straight out of an apocalyptic movie. The power goes out, and there goes your perfect day. You didn't see it coming, and now you have to improvise. That's life, my friend. Unpredictable. It throws unexpected situations at you and forces you to move in directions you never considered. And here's the key. The sooner you accept this, the sooner you'll learn to handle whatever comes your way. Because if you keep expecting everything to go as planned, you'll break at the first unexpected twist. But if you learn to flow with the unexpected, you will become unbreakable. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. Marcus Aurelius made it clear when he said, "Do not be troubled by the future, for if you come to it, you will arrive with the same reason you use today." In other words, worrying about what you can't control is a waste of time. In his time, Marcus Aurelius lived through wars, betrayals, and pandemics. Yes, they had pandemics in Rome too. Do you think he spent his days complaining because things didn't go his way? No, of course not. Instead, he focused on the only thing he truly could control: his attitude. If something didn't go as planned, he adjusted his approach and kept moving forward. Psychologist Lori Gottlieb, author of the bestseller Maybe You Should Talk to Someone, puts it clearly. Uncertainty is not the problem. The problem is that we are terrified of not having absolute control. We want everything to go according to plan, as if life owes us the script we've written in our heads. And when it doesn't, boom, we panic, get frustrated, and freeze. But here's the interesting part. When you stop fighting the unpredictable, you realize something. Letting go of control makes you stronger. It allows you to adapt, roll with the punches, and find new solutions instead of getting stuck in complaints. Because uncertainty is not the enemy. The enemy is your resistance to it. Let's go back to the example of your ruined day off. The power is out, the storm won't let up, and your perfect plan is gone. You have two choices. You can stay angry, staring out the window as if that will bring the sun back. Or you can take the moment to do something different. Maybe read that book that's been gathering dust for months. Write. Or simply sit in the darkness and let yourself be carried away by the sound of the rain. See the difference? When everything seems to be falling apart, the worst thing you can do is cling to a rigid plan. Life rarely follows a perfect script, so instead of getting frustrated when things don't go as expected, accept it as an opportunity to improvise. The more flexible you are, the harder it will be for anything to break you. But this isn't about giving up. It's about developing a mindset of constant adaptation. To adapt is to move with intelligence so you can keep going forward. Think of it like water. It molds itself to any container. No matter the obstacle, it always finds its way. And the next time something spirals out of control, instead of getting angry or freezing up, ask yourself, what can I do with this? That question, simple but powerful, will pull you out of paralysis and open the door to new solutions. Because in life, it's not the strongest who survive, but those who adjust best to change. Because life is not a scripted play with fixed lines. It's more like an improvisation where you decide how to act in every scene. Life is not always predictable, and that's okay. Learning to adapt without breaking is what will allow you to overcome the hardest moments in life. Lesson 10. Stay silent and you'll gain power. You're at a birthday party with your lifelong friends. There's music, laughter, someone's handing out cake, and you're in the middle of telling a story about something that happened at work. Then that friend drops a comment. It's not a harmless joke, it's a disguised jab. Work? Do you even know what that is? You hear it, your face flushes, and your first instinct is to fire back. You throw out a sharp response, and what was a relaxed get-together turns tense. The conversation gets awkward. People avoid eye contact, and you walk away feeling like you lost control. Because yes, the comment was out of line. No one's denying that. But in the end, who walked away with their peace shattered? You. Who stayed up all night replaying it in your head thinking of what you should have said? Also you. That's the trap. When you react instantly and with anger, you don't fix anything. You just hand your power over to the other person. Right in that moment, you should remember something Seneca once said. It is the mark of a wise person to remain silent when it is not the time to speak. Picture Seneca on Twitter. Someone tweets at him, "Your letters are boring, just cheap sermons." What do you think he'd do? Fire off a 20-tweet rebuttal? Of course not. He'd probably close the app, pour himself a tea, and go back to writing to Lucilius. That silence is the win. Because winning doesn't always mean striking back. Sometimes winning means not even stepping into the ring. And no, silence isn't weakness. Silence is strategy. Staying quiet when your pride is screaming to speak is like walking away from a fight that's not worth it. It gives you perspective, keeps you out of pointless drama, and reminds you that your peace is worth more than winning a verbal exchange. A true Stoic understands this. Real power doesn't lie in the comeback. It lies in mastering the impulse. So how can you apply this in daily life? Let me give you 3 Stoic tools you can carry in your back pocket for whenever you need them. First, the graceful exit. Someone at work makes a sarcastic jab, or a stranger says something rude in public. You respond with a simple, "I'll keep that in mind, thanks," and move on. No blow-up, no bottling it up. You drop it right there and keep going. It's like Epictetus said, insults only hurt if you choose to accept them. You choose not to. And in doing so, you protect your energy. Second, the monosyllables. You're at a family gathering and that one relative keeps poking, looking for an argument. You could take the bait and ruin the whole dinner, or you could answer with a yeah, maybe, and let them run out of steam. Sounds silly, but it's a silent shield. Seneca would have loved it. Picture it, someone snaps at him and he just replies, There's no better way to disarm someone looking for a fight than refusing to fight. Third, the confusion move. Here's where humor becomes your weapon. Someone mocks you, and instead of clapping back, you say something completely absurd like, as my uncle used to say, the early bird catches Tuesday. Total nonsense. They're thrown off, confused, and you walk away cool and unfazed. It's genius because it breaks their script. They expected your anger, not your creativity. All of these strategies have one thing in common. They put you back in control. The goal isn't to humiliate the other person. It's to protect your peace, to not give away your calm over a comment that, if you really think about it, doesn't deserve that much room in your head. Because in the end, my friend, this is what we've been building together. When you choose to live like a Stoic, you choose not to depend on what's happening outside. Not on words, not on mockery, not on applause. Only on your own discipline and mental clarity. That's where your real power lives. So, next time someone throws a jab or tries to get under your skin, remember, your silence might be louder than anything you could say. And now I ask you, what technique are you going to try next time someone pushes your buttons? Write it in the comments or simply say, "My silence is my power." Lesson 11. Be grateful before you complain. My friend, your brain is like a garden. What you plant in it is what ends up growing. If every day you water it with stress, complaints, and negativity, you'll get a dry, thorn-filled wasteland. And no, this isn't just a nice metaphor. A group of scientists at the University of Berkeley wanted to prove it. So they conducted an experiment. They divided people into two groups and gave them a simple task. The first group was asked to write down 3 things they were grateful for every night, no matter how small. The second group could write about anything with no specific rules. Weeks passed. It was time to see what had changed, and the results were shocking. The first group, those who wrote down their gratitude daily, showed increased activity in the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for calmness, decision-making, and emotional well-being. It was as if their brains had received special training to focus on the good and handle stress more effectively. And the second group? Nothing. Their brains remained the same. The garden was still dry. Do you see it now? Gratitude might seem trivial, but it's not. And trust me, I know from personal experience. I used to think it was pointless too. But one day, I gave it a shot. I started writing down 3 things I was grateful for every morning, and my mindset completely shifted. Over time, I understood something that Seneca had already said centuries ago. It is not happiness that makes us grateful, but gratitude that makes us happy. Think about this. It's Monday. You open your eyes, and the first thought in your head is that you need a vacation, that everything would be easier if you had a different job, a different house, a different life. And while you wash your face, your mind keeps playing the same tune. If I had more money, if I had more time, if things were easier, then I'd finally be at peace. But tell me, when has it ever been enough? Because the truth is, no matter how much you achieve, there will always be something else to want, something else to chase, something you think is missing. And in the middle of all that, the only thing you're really losing is your peace of mind. So if a simple habit like recognizing the good things in your life can literally strengthen your mind and help you stay calm in difficult moments, why not do it? First, say thank you out loud at the start of your day, but do it with intention. Imagine that right after opening your eyes, you sit up in bed, stretch your arms, and say with all the energy in the world, "Thank you." It might feel silly at first, but try it. Because the moment you start your day with gratitude, your brain shifts its focus. Instead of thinking about what's missing, it starts noticing what's already there. Second, write down 3 good things before going to bed. And don't just repeat the same ones every night. Look for details, maybe a coffee that turned out amazing, or an unexpected laugh with your partner. Because if you don't train your mind to see the good, it will only see the bad. And third, focus on what you have, not what you lack. Life isn't about crossing off an endless checklist of desires. If you can't appreciate what you have now, you won't appreciate it even when you have twice as much. The peace you're looking for, the clarity you need, and the success you want to achieve aren't in what you haven't yet obtained, but in the way you choose to see your life. Because here's a truth you should tattoo into your mind. Complaining changes nothing. Gratitude changes everything. Lesson 12. Happiness is not found, it is chosen. Many people spend their lives searching for happiness as if it were a distant destination. They believe that one day, when everything falls into place, when circumstances are perfect, when the world gives them what they think they deserve, then finally, they will be happy. What can I tell you? Happiness doesn't work that way. It's not something you find, it's something you choose. Because the truth is, the perfect moment will never come. There will always be problems, challenges, unexpected events. And if you keep postponing your happiness until everything is in order, you'll spend your life waiting for something that will never arrive. Have you seen the movie The Pursuit of Happiness? It's the true story of Chris Gardner, a man who went from being homeless to becoming a successful businessman. But guess what? His happiness didn't come when he found success. Chris didn't have an easy life. He grew up in a violent home, was abandoned by his wife, and ended up sleeping in public restrooms with his young son because he had nowhere else to go. But he never gave up. While others might have only seen misfortune, he made a decision to keep moving forward, no matter how hard the road was. The Stoics would have understood his story perfectly, because they too lived lives marked by adversity. Do you know who else is a great example of this? Epictetus. The Stoic philosopher was born a slave. He had no freedom, no rights, not even control over his own body. His master broke his leg and left him crippled for life. And what did Epictetus do? Cry? Maybe. Just to release his emotions, but not to victimize himself, not to throw his life away. Instead of drowning in misery, he chose something different, to become a free man in his mind. Seneca lost his wealth and was unjustly exiled. Marcus Aurelius, as emperor, had to rule during wars and a plague that wiped out half the empire. None of them waited for life to be fair to find peace, because they understood what Gardner realized centuries later. Happiness does not depend on what you have or what happens around you. It depends on how you choose to live through it. Marcus Aurelius wrote the most inspiring sentence in history: "The happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts." Ah, what wisdom, what courage, what a true Roman hero this emperor was. My friend, happiness is not a reward that comes when everything is perfect. It's an attitude, a practice, a daily choice. So start building it now. If you still believe you need something external to change in order to be happy, ask yourself this: what if I decided to be happy today, just as I am, with what I have? Don't wait for life to treat you well before you enjoy it. Find something to be grateful for every day, even if it's small. Don't wait for problems to disappear before you feel peace. Learn to find it within yourself, even in the midst of chaos. Make the commitment today. Choose to stop waiting for happiness and start creating it. Let us know in the comments how you're going to take control of your own happiness. Write it down as a promise to yourself, because once you put it into words, you will have taken the first step. Lesson 13. Not everything deserves a response. There are battles that aren't worth fighting, ones where just stepping in means you've already lost. But even knowing this, we sometimes engage in pointless arguments, respond to provocations, and drain ourselves over problems that lead nowhere. And all because we feel the need to respond, to defend ourselves. Otherwise, we think our honor, our dignity, who knows, maybe even our self-esteem will be damaged. But tell me, do you really win anything every time you respond? Or do you just end up angrier, more exhausted, and with the feeling that you've wasted your time? Think about this. If you shout at a stone, if you insult it, the stone won't insult you back. If you hit it, it won't strike back. Not because it's weak, but because nothing external has power over it. Now tell me, how do you think the stone feels? Do you think it will get offended and won't be able to resist the urge to throw an insult back at you? Of course not. The stone will remain exactly as it was before, unshaken, calm, unchanged. And now, how do you think the person who wasted time yelling at it feels? Probably frustrated, like a fool who has thrown away their energy on something that was never going to change. So who do you want to be? The one shouting or the stone? The point is this: you can't stop others from provoking, criticizing, or attacking. But you can decide whether you let it get to you or stay calm. Imagine you're having a pointless conversation with someone who just wants to argue. Do you seriously believe that? Even you don't buy that. They say with sarcasm, questioning your honesty. You could respond, you could explain your point of view, but something inside you whispers, "What for?" Deep down, you know you won't convince them. Just by their attitude, you can tell. The only thing you'll achieve is wasting your energy. So you take a deep breath, smile, and change the subject. And in that instant, you win. Because sometimes, the most powerful response is silence. Think about it. Have you ever seen someone argue with a wall? No, because the wall doesn't respond. When you stop feeding the conflict dies on its own. A perfect example of this is Mahatma Gandhi. During his fight for India's independence, he was insulted, beaten, humiliated, and he never responded with violence. When people asked him why he didn't strike back, he would say, "An eye for an eye, and the whole world will go blind." His silence wasn't weakness, it was his greatest strength. If Gandhi had responded with hatred, he would have become the very thing he was trying to change. But by refusing to react as his aggressors expected, he disarmed their violence. Can you imagine the inner peace it takes to act that way? And this is where his lesson aligns with the Stoics. They believed that true control doesn't lie in what others do, but in how you choose to react to it. Marcus Aurelius taught us that if someone provokes you, you must remember that their behavior belongs to them, not to you. You can't control their words, but you can control your response. Like Gandhi, the Stoics knew that reacting with anger means giving someone else control over your peace. That pride, the need to prove you're right, are ego traps that only pull you further away from real strength. If you respond to every provocation, you cling to negative energy. When you argue with someone who doesn't want to understand, you chain yourself to their ignorance. When you always need the last word, you become a prisoner of your own pride. So today, I leave you with a powerful challenge. The next time someone tries to provoke you, don't respond. Look at the situation from the outside and ask yourself, do I really need to engage in this? Will reacting bring me peace or pull me away from my center? And then, choose silence, because not everything deserves a response. Sometimes true wisdom lies in letting go, just like a stone would. So tell me, what battle are you going to release today to find peace within yourself? Lesson 14. Let go of the battle you've already lost. Picture yourself pushing a door with all your strength. You lean in, sweat dripping, muscles shaking, but the door doesn't budge an inch. You get frustrated, thinking maybe you just need to push harder. So you try again, angrier this time. Still nothing. Until someone walks by and calmly says, "Hey, that door opens the other way." And suddenly, everything makes sense. It was never about force, it was about direction. That's the trap of fighting battles that are already lost. Wasting the best of you on a fight you'll never win. Think about it. How many times have you found yourself stuck pushing doors that won't open anymore? A job you lost that you still dwell on months later. A broken relationship you keep going back to, waiting for signs that never come. That mistake from the past you replay in your head, like you could undo it by regretting it harder. All of these battles have something in common. No matter how much energy you pour into them, the outcome is already set. Thomas Edison lived this firsthand. One December night, a fire completely destroyed his factory. In just a few hours, years of inventions, machines, and dreams were reduced to ash. Imagine being in his shoes, watching flames consume everything you built. Most people would have broken down. But Edison, instead of collapsing, let go of that battle right then and there. He summed it up in a line that feels like a slap of reality. Now, we can start over. He didn't cling to the smoke of the past. He looked forward to what he could still build. That choice, that ability to let go, is what allowed him to get back up and keep creating. See it now? That's the line between being stuck and being free. And my friend, that freedom is a lot closer than you think. Because training your mind like a Stoic means just that. Living with clarity, not wasting your strength on impossible battles, saving your energy for what can be moved. Epictetus made it brutally clear. Do not seek for events to happen as you wish, but wish for them to happen as they do, and your life will go smoothly. Harsh, I know. We love to think we can bend reality to our will. But when you fight the inevitable, the only thing you lose is your peace. Acceptance isn't giving up. It's the smartest move you can make. It lets you hold on to your strength for what really matters. And you don't have to go as far back as Edison or Epictetus to see it. Think of something more every day. You break up with someone, and instead of focusing on yourself, you spend sleepless nights checking their social media. You look for clues, analyze who liked their posts, read into their silence. What does that get you? Nothing, except deeper wounds. Every minute spent there is like pouring gasoline on a fire that already burned out. It doesn't help you heal, it slows you down. Clinging to what you can't change is like dropping an anchor in the middle of a storm. You think it'll keep you safe, but really it just drags you down faster. True courage isn't about holding on no matter what. It's about letting go so you can move toward calmer waters. So, how do you do that practically? Let me spell it out. First, identify the situation that still takes up space in your mind even though it has no solution. Write it down. Name it. Maybe you're still going over an argument you had with a friend months ago, replaying everything you should have said. Or maybe you're still angry at your ex-boss even though you don't work there anymore. Or you might still be blaming yourself for missing a chance that, realistically, isn't coming back. Second, make a conscious decision. What are you going to stop doing starting today? Maybe it's checking that profile. Maybe it's repeating dead-end arguments in your head. Maybe it's chasing something that doesn't exist anymore. And third, replace that habit with something that brings you back to life. Learn a new skill, pick up a forgotten hobby, spend real time with friends, or take care of your body. Letting go isn't enough. You have to fill that space with something that pulls you forward. Because here's the key. When you let go of what's already lost, you stop forcing yourself to fight battles that only exist in your head. And in that moment, without even realizing it, you're getting rid of 95% of your problems. How? Simple. You're no longer wasting energy on closed doors, on people who won't change, on stories that only wear you down. When you live with Stoic clarity, you understand that your energy is too valuable to throw away on pointless fights. Every time you choose to let go, you're training your mind to endure whatever comes, to overcome the majority of your struggles without depending on what's happening outside. Now I want you to do something. Think about that lost battle you're still silently fighting. Write it in the comments, not to expose your wounds, but to start letting them go. This whole community is here to remind you that you don't carry that alone. And if you don't want to share details, just write, "Today I let go of that battle," because that small act is already a step toward freedom. And that freedom, trust me, is the first step toward the life you truly deserve. Lesson 15. Pain doesn't want to destroy you, it wants to teach you. Pain burns. It sears. It cuts through you like an unforgiving blade. It arrives without warning, without mercy. It's the loss of someone you love, the betrayal of the one you least expected, or that crushing failure that hits you right in the chest. And in those moments, all you want is for it to disappear. And I get it, it's human to want to escape pain. But today you'll learn something profound. Pain is not here to destroy you. It's here to make you stronger. The Stoics taught us that suffering is inevitable, but the meaning you give to that suffering is in your hands. Like fire that hardens iron, or a river that smooths stone, every challenge you face has the potential to make you more resilient, someone who never breaks. It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that they are difficult, said Seneca. Think of an athlete who suffers an injury. He can see it as the end of his career, or as an opportunity to strengthen his character and come back even stronger. A Stoic chooses the latter. He doesn't ask, "Why me?" Instead, he asks, "What can I do with this?" My friend, pain is like a storm. You can curse the rain, run aimlessly, and end up drenched to the bone. Or you can lift your head, understand that the storm will pass, and learn to walk through it with dignity. Now tell me, how would you react if you lost your job tomorrow? You'd probably feel devastated. Anxiety would take over, fear of the future would paralyze you, and frustration would make you think it's all over. But now, ask yourself another question. How would a Stoic face it? Instead of sinking into despair, He would see the situation with clarity, because a true Stoic knows that the only certainty in life is change, and clinging to what is already gone only creates suffering. He would ask himself, what opportunity is hidden in this? How can I use this to my advantage? Maybe it's time to start a business, switch careers, or explore a path he had never even considered before. Marcus Aurelius put it plainly, if the pain is in your body, it belongs to the body. If the pain is in your mind, it belongs to the mind. And you are the master of both. Ah, what a powerful quote, isn't it? And you might wonder, how were the Stoics able to endure pain with such strength, such unshakable dignity? Let me share some of their secrets. First, change your perspective. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask, what is this happening for? Look for the hidden lesson. Second, don't resist the inevitable. Fighting against pain only makes it more intense. Accept it. And no, I'm not saying you should resign yourself. I'm saying you should take control of how you choose to face it. And third, take action despite the pain. Don't wait to feel better to move forward. It is through pain that true strength is born. Pain is not your enemy. It is the chisel that sculpts your character, the hammer that forges your spirit. So the next time life hits you, don't ask, when will this end? Instead ask, and what will I become because of this? Because the answer is simple. You will become unbreakable. Lesson 16. Your mornings shape your destiny. Imagine this. Marcus Aurelius and Seneca wake up in the 21st century. Marcus Aurelius opens his eyes, and the first thing he does is grab his phone. He checks his notifications, sees unread emails from the Senate, someone on Twitter is criticizing his latest decree. And to top it off, the news is reporting trouble at the empire's borders. He sighs, gets up reluctantly, and while pouring his coffee, he's already thinking about how exhausting the day will be. Seneca, on the other hand, wakes up calmly. Before moving, he takes a deep breath and asks himself, what kind of day do I want to have? He gets up without rushing, stretches, drinks water, and takes out his journal to write down some reflections. Then, without checking his phone, he goes for a walk, feeling the fresh air on his face. One starts the day dragged down by circumstances. The other takes control. And you? Who do you resemble more in the mornings? Many people start their day on autopilot. They wake up, check their phone, fill their heads with information and worries before even getting out of bed. They don't prepare their minds. They don't direct their focus. They just throw themselves into the day without control. But imagine what would happen if, instead of reacting to everything that comes your way, you chose how to start your day. Science now confirms that this isn't just philosophy. Dr. Rangan Chatterjee, an expert in health and wellness, explains that having a clear morning routine is key to managing stress and staying calm. His studies show that when people begin the day with intention, whether by reading, meditating, or simply avoiding distractions, their anxiety levels decrease and their ability to focus increases. So now tell me, how are you starting your days? To make sure this doesn't just stay in theory, let's do something different. Imagine that today is your turning point. I'm going to walk you through an ideal morning so you can experience what it feels like to start the day in control. When you open your eyes, remember, no touching your phone for the first 30 minutes. Yes, I know, it sounds difficult, but think about it. Do you really need to flood your mind with information before you're even fully awake? Give your brain a break before bombarding it with messages, news, and social media. So what are you going to do instead? Something that makes you feel in control. It can be small, but it should give you the feeling that the day has already started with a win. Making your bed, stretching, preparing a quiet breakfast, meditating for a minute. It doesn't matter what, as long as you do it with intention. Finally, visualize the kind of day you want to have. Don't let the day take control of you. Take control of it. Take a moment to imagine how you want to respond to challenges, how you want to feel, what you want to achieve. And if you're not sure how to train your mind to visualize with clarity, stay tuned, because soon you'll discover why this skill can change everything. So, my friend, tell me, how are you going to start your mornings from now on? Share it in the comments and make it real. This community is here to support you on your journey. 17th lesson. Don't seek control, seek balance. We spend our lives trying to make everything go our way. We want people to act as we expect, the weather to be nice when we go out, no traffic on the way to work. But let me tell you an open secret. The more you try to control life, the more it frustrates you, the more it wears you down, and the more you lose your peace. Think about the water in a river. If you try to hold it in your hands, it slips through your fingers. If you fight against the current, you exhaust yourself. But if you flow with it, you move forward effortlessly. Peace is not in control, it's in balance. In Chinese philosophy, Lao Tzu, the Taoist sage, put it clearly: the one who clings loses. The one who lets go finds the way. Because life is not conquered by force, it is understood, accepted, and navigated. The Stoics knew this too. You cannot control what happens around you, but you can control how you adapt to it. Epictetus made it clear: happiness and freedom begin with a clear understanding of one thing. Some things are within our control, and some are not. Trying to control everything is a recipe for suffering. But finding the balance between what you can control and what you can't, that is the key to inner peace. An old story tells of a traveler who climbed a mountain in search of wisdom. "Master," he said, "I want to control my destiny, avoid failure, and ensure that everything turns out well. How do I do it?" The wise man smiled and handed him a tray filled with water. "Walk through the garden with this full tray," he said, "but be careful. If you spill even a single drop, you will have failed." The traveler walked tensely, staring only at the water, obsessed with keeping it from spilling. When he reached the other side of the garden, not a single drop had been lost. But guess what? He hadn't seen anything along the way. The master looked at him and said, "You avoided failure, but you also missed the beauty of the journey. Now, walk again, but this time, look around you." The traveler repeated the walk, but this time he enjoyed the colors, felt the air on his face, and noticed the life around him. And when he reached the end, he saw that he had lost a few drops of water. The wise man smiled. "Now you understand. If you try to control everything, you will miss out on life. But if you flow with the journey, you might lose something, but you will gain so much more." Ah, what a wonderful lesson. If you want to stop exhausting yourself by trying to control the uncontrollable, start here. First, distinguish between what depends on you and what doesn't. Don't waste energy trying to change others, fighting against reality, or clinging to the impossible. Stop fighting against the wind. Learn to navigate it. Second, be flexible without losing your center. This is not about giving up, but about knowing when to push forward and when to let go. Bamboo is strong not because it resists, but because it bends with the wind without breaking. And third, let go of the need for everything to be perfect. Life does not follow your script. Accept chaos, embrace uncertainty, and trust that even when things don't go as planned, you can still find your own way. Because in the end, inner peace is not about controlling everything. It's about learning to move with life, without losing yourself in the process. Lesson number 18. Patience will make you indestructible. Imagine planting a bamboo tree. You water it, take care of it, watch over it. But weeks pass and nothing happens. Months go by, still nothing. Years pass and not a single leaf appears. Anyone would think it's dead, that it's useless, that it's a waste of time. But underground, where no one can see, the roots are growing, strengthening, preparing for something big. And then one day, just when it seems like nothing will ever happen, the bamboo breaks through the surface and starts growing. And it doesn't grow little by little, no. In just a few weeks, it can shoot up to 30 meters. That's how patience works, my friend. And that's how you should work. Sometimes it feels like all your effort is leading nowhere, that you're not making progress, that you're stuck. But what you don't see is that on the inside, you're getting stronger. And if you keep going, when you least expect it, everything will change. But here's the problem. We live in the era of "I want it now." We crave immediate results, instant rewards. And if we don't get them, we give up. It's like the person who starts a diet on Monday, convinced that this time, they'll finally succeed. By Wednesday, they're checking the scale every 5 minutes, hoping for a miracle. By Friday, since they don't see spectacular results, they tell themselves it's not working. And by Saturday, they're devouring a family-sized pizza with extra cheese and dessert included. And so, the cycle starts all over again the next Monday. What would Marcus Aurelius say to this person? Something like, "Nothing great is created suddenly, not even the grape or the fig. Give it time." Meaning that everything worthwhile in life takes its own process. You can't force growth. You can't rush success. The only thing you can do is stay consistent and trust that what you're doing today, even if you don't see immediate results, will take you where you want to be. Now imagine this. You're in a truly difficult situation, a serious health issue, for example. It's not something that gets resolved overnight. Recovery could take months or even years. In that case, patience isn't just good advice. It's a necessity. If you lose hope, if you give up halfway through because you don't see quick progress, you're robbing yourself of the chance to get better. So how can you practice patience every day to become unbreakable? First, start with small daily exercises. Want some examples? Wait 5 extra minutes before checking your phone. Walk without rushing. Let the traffic light change without honking. These are minor things, but they train your tolerance for waiting. Second, remember that anything truly worthwhile never happens overnight. Think of something important in your life. Did you achieve it in a day? No, of course not. The big things take time, effort, and consistency. And third, when impatience starts creeping in, use visualization. Picture the long-term result. If you give up today, you'll never see it. But if you keep going one day, you'll look back and be grateful you held on. So tell me, if the best things in life require patience, what is something you've been working on that hasn't yet shown results? Share in the comments what goal or challenge you're applying patience to. And if you hadn't thought about it this way before, just write, "I choose to be patient." Because those who learn to wait without breaking become people that nothing and no one can stop. Lesson 19. Drop the backpack if you want to run faster. Imagine you're about to climb a mountain. You're motivated, full of energy, but you decide to carry a huge backpack just in case. You pack heavy memories, tools you'll probably never use, even gifts that don't really make sense for the journey. Halfway up, you're exhausted. Every step feels unbearable. Then, an elderly man passes you, light on his feet, carrying only a small canteen. You ask him how he's moving so fast, and he smiles and says, "Because I learned to carry only what really helps me." That scene is a brutal metaphor for life. So many of us are hauling around a backpack full of things we don't need. And the worst part is, we don't even realize it. It's not just physical stuff we accumulate, it's worries, commitments we didn't want to say yes to, thoughts that echo in our heads and drain us. And of course, there comes a point when the exhaustion isn't from what you're doing. It's from everything you're carrying without meaning to. It's like trying to run a marathon wearing hiking boots and a sack of bricks on your back. In today's world, more and more people are waking up to this. Joshua Fields Milburn and Ryan Nicodemus, creators of the Minimalists podcast, shared that when they downsized their belongings, they didn't just clear out their homes. They found mental clarity. Suddenly, they had less anxiety, more energy, and a kind of freedom they'd never felt before. Because every item you keep unnecessarily is like a debt. It demands space, attention, time. And the same goes for what you store in your mind. Even back then, Seneca made it clear, it's not the man who has too little who is poor, but the one who craves more. And here's the thing, it's not about material poverty. It's about a poverty of spirit, the kind that shows up when nothing ever feels like enough. The trap isn't in owning little, it's in needing too much to feel complete. Think about it. Every time you accumulate just to accumulate, you're not gaining freedom, you're losing it. The Stoic mindset went in the opposite direction. They weren't looking to fill up, they were trying to lighten the load. Because when you clear out what you don't need, you realize real strength isn't in everything you carry, it's in how little you truly need to move forward. That Stoic discipline is like training a muscle of clarity. Every time you choose to let go of something useless, you recover energy for what truly matters. And that's the difference between dragging your way through life or moving with lightness. Now, picture this. You go to the gym and decide to pack several bags of rice in your backpack, just in case you get hungry on the treadmill. Absurd, right? Not only does it not help, it drains you before you even begin. And yet we do the same in life, carrying worries, obligations, and clutter that only weigh us down, while swearing they're necessary. So how do you start emptying that backpack? This might feel hard at first, but trust me, it's worth it. Do a quick cleanup. Choose 5 things you don't use and donate or throw them out today. Not tomorrow. Today. That jacket you haven't worn in 3 winters? Donate it. Those shoes that always hurt your feet, let them go. Old cables you've kept just in case? Trash. That dusty mug taking up space in the kitchen? Give it away. Books you've read and know you won't open again? Let someone else enjoy them. Next, look at your commitments. Ask yourself, how many things am I doing just out of obligation, not because they truly feed me? Learn to say no, because every yes you give to something that doesn't matter is another weight in your pack. And finally, look inside your head. We all have thoughts that repeat and do us no good. Identify one and make a decision to stop feeding it. Writing it down and crossing it out is a great way to begin letting it go. Now, my friend, this isn't about turning into a hardcore minimalist or living in an empty room. It's about something deeper, learning to recognize what adds to your life and what takes away. Because when you live with discipline and mental clarity, when you begin to empty that backpack, you discover you can overcome the vast majority of your difficulties without needing anything outside to change. That lightness isn't a luxury, it's raw power. Think about the road ahead. It's not about getting there first or competing with anyone. It's about reaching your destination free. And for that, everything you let go of is like taking a stone out of your shoe. Every step gets easier, lighter. If you really want to force yourself to live like a Stoic, start lightening your load today. Make that small gesture to let go, even if it's something tiny. Because your life isn't defined by what you hold on to, but by what you're willing to leave behind. Lesson 20. Seek silence, find answers. Think about this. You open your eyes, and before even getting out of bed, your phone is already in your hand. Notifications, emails, social media. You step outside, and there's traffic, honking, half-heard conversations, music blasting from every direction. You get home, turn on the TV, check more messages, filling every moment with noise. And without realizing it, your life becomes a whirlwind where silence never has a place. Just thinking about it feels overwhelming, right? And do you know why you do all that? Because you don't know how to be in silence. It terrifies you. It makes you so uncomfortable that you fill every second with noise. But here's a truth you might not want to hear. Silence is not the enemy. It's a portal, a gateway to another world, one where answers don't come from outside but from within. If you never dare to step through it, you can't even imagine what you're missing. It's like in the movie Eat, Pray, Love. The protagonist, trapped in a life that no longer fulfills her, leaves everything behind and sets out on a journey to find herself. But she doesn't do it in the middle of chaos. She does it in silence. At a retreat in India, she faces her greatest challenge, being alone with her own thoughts. And it's not easy. Her mind screams, her anxiety spikes, she wants to run. But then something changes. When the external noise fades, she starts to hear what she truly needs. There, in the silence, she finds the answers she was searching for, not because someone gives them to her, but because she can finally hear her own voice. The Stoics understood this centuries ago. Seneca said that we often suffer more from the noise in our minds than from the noise around us. We worry about things that haven't happened yet, replay past mistakes, fill our heads with unnecessary thoughts that keep us trapped in a constant mental storm. But the one who learns to find calm in silence learns to find calm in any situation. And science backs this up. A study from Duke University made it clear. When you spend time in silence, something incredible happens in your brain. It doesn't shut down, it doesn't go into standby mode. It does the exact opposite. It's like searching for something in a messy room. You look left, right, dig through things, open drawers, but the more you search, the harder it is to find. Everything is chaos. But then you stop, take a breath, organize a little, and suddenly there it is, right in front of you the whole time. This activates what's known as the default mode network, a neural system that helps you connect ideas, solve dilemmas, and find clarity. It's as if your mind, free from distractions, starts cleaning up, organizing thoughts, and piecing together answers that once seemed out of reach. If your mind feels like a constant storm and you can't find the answers, what can you do? First, disconnect for 30 minutes a day. No screens, no conversations, just silence. It could be in the morning, before bed, or at any moment you allow yourself. Second, take silent walks. No music, no podcasts, just you and your thoughts. At first it might feel uncomfortable, but over time you'll realize it's a space where ideas and solutions appear that you couldn't see before. Third, write down what comes up during those moments of silence. Thoughts, reflections, doubts. Writing them down will help you clarify them and recognize patterns in your thinking. Because here's the thing, if you can't stand being alone with your thoughts, who else would want to? Silence is not the enemy. It's the tool you need to calm your mind and guide you toward success. My friend, if you truly want to stay calm and reach success, there's one more thing you can't overlook, a detail many ignore, but one that makes the difference between an overwhelmed mind and a mind in control. Ready to find out what it is? Lesson 21. Use your hands, calm your mind. Let me tell you the story of a man who couldn't sit still, not because he was impatient, but because his mind was full of questions. It wasn't enough for him to observe the world. He needed to understand it, touch it, take it apart, and rebuild it with his own hands. He drew endlessly, designed machines that didn't yet exist, studied anatomy, and wrote without stopping. But he didn't do it just out of curiosity. He knew that his mind worked best when his hands were busy. When he felt stuck, he sketched. When his thoughts became chaotic, he grabbed paper and organized them into drawings. When words weren't enough, he let action speak for itself. And that was his secret. He didn't wait for clarity. He created it with his own hands. That man was Leonardo da Vinci. A genius, yes, but also a man who discovered something that many still don't understand. When the mind is overwhelmed, the solution isn't to think more, but to do. And you, my friend, what do you do when stress takes over? When ideas pile up without making sense? When anxiety paralyzes you? Marcus Aurelius put it clearly. Well-directed action brings peace to the mind. Calm doesn't come by sitting still, waiting for the storm to pass. It comes when you take action. Picture this. You're at work, and everything is spiraling out of control. Emails piling up, your phone ringing non-stop, someone asking you for something urgent. You feel pressure in your chest, your mind racing, like you have to respond to everything all at once. You want to stay calm, but you just can't. And the worst part? In that moment, all you wish is to be that person who knows how to handle pressure, the one who stays centered, who makes good decisions without getting swept away by chaos. Because in the end, those are the people who move forward, the ones who succeed. But how do you do it when everything feels like it's on fire? To calm the mind, use your hands. I know what you're thinking. My hands? What kind of nonsense is that? Yes, I get it. It sounds too simple, but it works. First, dedicate at least 10 minutes a day to a hands-on activity. Drawing, writing by hand, cooking, fixing something, gardening, whatever it is. And no, don't worry. I'm not telling you to suddenly start sketching in your notebook in the middle of a chaotic office, but make it a habit. A moment in your day where you disconnect from the noise and give your mind a chance to reset. Second, remove distractions. Forget multitasking. Turn off notifications. And absolutely do not play music with lyrics in the background. Just you, your hands, and the activity. When your mind focuses on a single physical task, stress melts away without you even noticing. Third, pay attention to how you feel afterward. Maybe you won't have solved all your problems, but I promise you'll have a clarity you didn't have before. As if the storm had settled, even if just a little. When words aren't enough, let your hands do the talking. Sometimes the silence of a simple, hands-on task speaks louder than 1,000 chaotic thoughts. So tell me, my friend, what's the first thing you're going to do with your hands to calm your mind? Be bold and share it in the comments. Lesson 22. Discomfort is the price of greatness. Be honest. How many times have you avoided doing something just because it was uncomfortable? Maybe you wanted to start working out, but the thought of feeling awkward at the gym held you back. Or maybe you wanted to speak up in an important meeting, but the fear of messing up kept you silent. The strange thing is, the more we avoid discomfort, the bigger our fear becomes. Let me tell you the story of Lucia, a friend who struggled with social anxiety for years. When she was a teenager, it started with small things. She got nervous speaking in class, so she began avoiding it. Then, she stopped raising her hand, even when she knew the answer. Later, she started turning down plans with friends because the thought of being in large groups stressed her out. But the discomfort didn't disappear. It grew. When she got to college, what do you think happened? It got worse. Giving a presentation in front of a class? That was a nightmare for her. So she started choosing courses where she wouldn't have to. What did she do during breaks? She stayed alone, glued to her phone to avoid conversations. If someone invited her out, she made up an excuse. She convinced herself that it was easier that way, that she felt safer in her own space. But that safe space ended up becoming a prison. The days went by and her world got smaller and smaller. She avoided making phone calls, avoided walking into stores. The discomfort she had tried to escape had turned into a monster controlling her life. Until one day, something changed everything. She had an interview for a job she really wanted, but the anxiety was paralyzing her. She thought about canceling, about making up an excuse to avoid going. But she did something better. She asked her psychologist for help. Together, they worked on strategies, and she went to the interview. She was shaking, her heart was racing, and she felt like at any moment she'd say something ridiculous. But she did it. And when she walked out, she realized something. The fear had been much worse in her head than in reality. From that day on, she started challenging herself little by little. She did small things she used to avoid, ordering a coffee without rehearsing the sentence 10 times in her head, asking questions in class without worrying about what others would think, accepting invitations without making excuses. And with every small victory, the discomfort lost its power. Lucia realized that avoiding discomfort didn't make her stronger, it was breaking her. But when she faced it little by little, she saw that she could overcome even the hardest moments. And you, my friend, how many opportunities have you let slip away just because you didn't want to feel uncomfortable? Neuroscientist Andrew Huberman explains that well-managed discomfort strengthens the brain. He talks about something interesting: cold water immersion. Why do some people willingly step into freezing water? Because when you train yourself to tolerate small discomforts, you build mental resilience. If you can control your breathing in 4-degree water, you can also control your reaction to a difficult situation in life. And if Seneca were alive today, he'd probably practice it daily. Because he understood that comfort weakens us. He put it simply: difficulty strengthens the mind, just as labor strengthens the body. So how do you train your tolerance for discomfort to handle life's toughest moments? Trust me, it's not as hard as it sounds if you take small steps. First, expose your mind and body to little discomforts every day. You don't have to jump into an icy lake tomorrow, but start with simple things. If you always take your coffee with sugar, try it without. If you sleep with 2 pillows, try using just one. If speaking in public terrifies you, start by joining small conversations. Second, face challenges instead of avoiding them. If you always run from discomfort, you'll never become strong. If you get invited to a meeting and panic sets in, don't immediately reject it. pause and think twice. Give yourself a chance to try, to prove to yourself that you can handle it. And remember, discomfort is temporary, but growth is permanent. The first time you train a muscle, it hurts, but over time, it gets stronger. The same happens with your mind. Every time you step outside your comfort zone, you prepare yourself for even bigger challenges ahead. So here's a challenge for you. Step out of your comfort zone today. Not tomorrow, not next week. Today. Do something that makes you uncomfortable, something you'd usually avoid, and tell us about it in the comments. We want to support you. Discomfort is the price of greatness, and only those who learn to pay that price become people that nothing and no one can stop. My friend, what comes next changes everything. It could be the difference between giving up or pushing forward, between breaking or becoming unbreakable. Pay close attention, because this is what truly defines how far you can go. Lesson 23. Be grateful even when everything's falling apart. Tell me something. How much time do you spend complaining about what's missing in your life? Do you catch yourself thinking about what went wrong, what never arrived, or what you've lost? And now the tougher question. How much time do you spend being thankful for what you do have? Most people live like everything is guaranteed, like waking up each morning is just routine and not the miracle it really is. My friend, if you think about it, today you already have more than you once prayed for. The Stoics understood this deeply. In the midst of wars and loss, Marcus Aurelius wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." And he didn't say this from comfort. He wrote it while holding together an empire that was crumbling around him. That phrase isn't just a pretty quote for social media. It's a reminder that gratitude is the anchor that keeps you steady when life starts falling apart. Think about it. If Marcus Aurelius were alive today, maybe his gratitude journal would read, "The Wi-Fi didn't drop during my meeting. The universe is smiling on me." And as silly as that sounds, it's real. Gratitude often doesn't come from big moments. It comes from the smallest things. Your coffee tasting just right, a stranger smiling at you on the street, or your home being quiet when you need peace. It's no coincidence that modern psychology has come to the same conclusion as the ancient Stoics. Robert Emmons, one of the most respected researchers on the subject, showed at the University of California that keeping a gratitude journal for just 10 weeks improves overall well-being, reduces physical symptoms of stress, and even boosts the immune system. What does that mean? That gratitude isn't a luxury. It's a habit that strengthens you, just like physical exercise. And if that sounds too abstract, let me tell you the story of John O'Leary. At just 9 years old, an accident left him with burns across his entire body. Doctors didn't think he'd make it through the night, but against all odds, he survived. Decades later, he became a public speaker and wrote the book, On Fire. His message? Gratitude was his fuel. Even on the days when the pain was unbearable, he gave thanks for one more breath, for a new sunrise, for every hand that helped care for him. That's not weakness. That's strength in its purest form. So, how can you make sure gratitude doesn't just stay a nice idea? Start your day by noticing one small thing you appreciate. It doesn't have to be profound. Maybe your coffee turned out just right. Maybe your kid laughed out loud this morning, or your body felt strong during a workout. And when something goes wrong, pause and try to find something to be thankful for, even within that moment. If you miss a train, be grateful for the chance to listen to music or read while you wait. And if your mind tells you, there's nothing good right now, try this. Imagine that tomorrow everything disappears. Your home, your health, your loved ones, your work. What would you miss the most? That is what you should be grateful for today. Being grateful doesn't mean denying pain or pretending everything's fine. It's training your mind to recognize that even when things seem to be falling apart, there's still something holding your life together. That's why Seneca advised giving thanks for what life had already given you, even if it seemed like little. Because the person who can appreciate it never feels poor. And Epictetus, even as a slave, gave thanks for the one thing no one could take from him, his inner freedom. That's what it means to live like a Stoic, my friend. Because when you choose to be grateful in the middle of chaos, you don't just find calm, you find the clarity to overcome most of your difficulties, no matter what's happening outside. So here's my invitation to you. Don't overthink it, just do it. Write one single thing in the comments that you're grateful for today, even if it's tiny, even if it seems irrelevant. Because that small daily act is what builds Stoic discipline over time. And if you truly want to force yourself to live like a Stoic, start here. Be grateful, even when everything's falling apart. Lesson 24. The world is not against you. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that everything is working against you. Traffic delays you every time you go to work. The weather ruins your only day off. People are cold when you try to start a conversation. Everything seems to be against you, or maybe not. Maybe this is just your interpretation of the world. Maybe the world doesn't owe you anything, nor is it against you. It simply is. Sometimes things will go well, sometimes they won't. Sometimes you'll win, sometimes you'll lose. That's life, my friend. There is no grand conspiracy trying to steal your happiness. Well, actually, maybe there is, but it doesn't come from the world. It comes from your mind. If you interpret every inconvenience as a personal attack, then you'll become a prisoner of a battle that only exists in your head. The Stoics knew this well. You can't control what happens, but you can control how you interpret it. Marcus Aurelius made it clear in Meditations. The universe is change. Our life is what our thoughts make of it. That's all it is. Interpretation. Think about this for a moment. Is life unfair to you? Or did things simply not go as you expected? Is the world putting obstacles in your way? Or are they just situations you have to face? Are people against you? Or are they simply following their own path without thinking about you? And here's the most interesting part. Not only do we tend to believe that life is attacking us, but we also suffer over things that never even happen. Mark Twain expressed this with both irony and truth. I have suffered many terrible things in my life, some of which actually happened. Do you realize what this means? The worst part isn't just interpreting everything as a catastrophe. The worst part is that you suffer even over things that will never happen. How many times have you prepared for an argument that never occurred? How many times have you spent days worrying about something that resolved itself? How many times have you seen a problem as bigger than it actually was? We get defensive. We suffer in advance. We convince ourselves that something bad is going to happen. And most of the time, nothing happens at all. My friend, do you want to find peace in your life? Let go of the belief that life is attacking you. Stop reacting with anger and frustration to every unexpected turn. Accept that not everything revolves around you. Free yourself from the burden of taking everything personally. When you understand that you can't control what happens, but you can control how you respond to it, you'll discover a peace that once seemed impossible. So start changing your perspective. Don't take every inconvenience as an offense. Don't waste your energy resisting the inevitable. Adapt, move forward, and make your strength depend on you, not on circumstances. Because the world is not attacking you, it's simply happening. And how you experience it is entirely up to you. Lesson number 25. What you visualize, you build. My friend, has this ever happened to you? You decide you want to buy a car. You start looking at models, thinking about the color, the details, how it would look with you behind the wheel. And suddenly, you start seeing it everywhere. On the street, in ads, in the supermarket parking lot. It feels like the universe is sending you signs, right? But it's not magic, it's your brain. When you focus your attention on something, your mind starts detecting it more easily. Not because it appears out of nowhere, but because you've activated the right filter. And this doesn't just happen with cars. It happens with everything in life. Epictetus summed it up in one sentence. What you feed your mind becomes your reality. If you spend your days thinking about problems, about what you lack, about how hard everything is, that's exactly what you'll see everywhere. But if you start focusing on progress and opportunities, your mind will start working to find them. Because here's the secret: your brain doesn't distinguish between what you vividly imagine and what you actually experience. Roxy Nafusi, an expert in visualization, explains that picturing your day with clarity isn't just a mental exercise. It's a real way to train your brain for success. Want to try it? Close your eyes and imagine your ideal home. Don't just think about it, experience it mentally. What color are the walls? How does the light stream through the windows? How does it smell? What music is playing in the background? What does it feel like to walk through it? Now imagine everything you need to do to get there, not as a distant fantasy, but as a real path. Visualize each step, the effort, the decisions, the small daily wins that bring you closer to that goal. Does it feel more real? Good. Because the clearer you see it in your mind, the easier it will be to find the paths that lead you there. So, how can you use visualization to stay calm and achieve success? First, create a mental script for your goals. It's not enough to say, "I want to improve," or "I want success." Imagine the details. If your goal is to be more confident, visualize a specific situation where you act with confidence. If you want a successful business, picture what a day inside it would look like, from your first morning coffee to your last meeting of the day. Your brain needs clear images to know where to go. Second, surround yourself with images and stimuli that reinforce your vision. Have you noticed that athletes fill their walls with motivational quotes and pictures of their idols? That's no coincidence. Your environment influences what you think, so use this to your advantage. Place reminders of your goals where you can see them. Change your phone's wallpaper to something inspiring. Read things that reinforce the right mindset. Calmness comes when you know where you're going. And success isn't a matter of luck. It's about visualizing what you want and taking each step with intention. Lesson 26. Do what's right, even if no one applauds. There's something sad you see every day, people who only do the right thing when someone's watching. Like they're wearing a costume they put on under the spotlight. They work hard to look good, but the second no one's paying attention, they forget about ethics, honesty, everything. And tell me, what's that really worth? Doing the right thing just to get a pat on the back is like clapping for yourself in an empty theater. It's hollow. And the worst part, my friend, is that living this way makes you a slave to other people's eyes. You don't act out of conviction. You act for approval. A Stoic doesn't play that game. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it's the right thing to do, do it. If it's the truth, say it. No conditions." He didn't say, "Do it if people notice," or "say it if it gets applause." For him, what's right stands on its own. And that kind of inner discipline is what allows you to overcome most of your difficulties. Because your compass isn't set by what's happening outside, it's set by you. Here's the thing. People who quietly act with integrity, without needing credit, are often the ones who build the strongest, most respected relationships. Because consistency speaks for itself, even when no one claps. It might feel like you're not gaining anything at first, but in the long run, it leaves behind a legacy that no trophy can buy. And then there are the actions that change the world. In 1955, Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat on a segregated bus. There were no cameras, no reporters waiting. There was exhaustion, fear, and real consequences. And yet, that silent act sparked a fire that helped ignite the civil rights movement in the United States. The right thing, done without seeking recognition, can be more powerful than 1,000 empty speeches. Now picture this. A coworker is drowning in a project, the deadline's closing in, and if they don't finish, the whole team will take the hit. You could pack up, shut your laptop, and head home. No one would blame you. But instead, you stay an extra hour and help out. No one sees it. No one thanks you. Not even your coworker brings it up the next day. And still, you know what happens? That silent action makes you stronger. Because you acted according to your values, not for praise. So, how can you live with that kind of integrity in your everyday life? First, define 2 or 3 core values that guide you. Don't overthink it. Maybe it's honesty, respect, loyalty. Write them down on a note in your phone or stick them to your desk. Let them be a reminder of who you want to be, especially when things get tough. Second, before every decision, ask yourself, does this align with my values? Even if no one else ever finds out? Would you badmouth someone just to fit in at the office? Would you lie on a report because you know no one's going to check? If the answer clashes with your values, stop. Yeah, it might feel uncomfortable, but it's that discomfort that trains your discipline. Third, stand your ground, even if it means discomfort or losing out on a quick win. Sometimes staying true to yourself means not laughing at a cruel joke, not accepting a favor with strings attached, or walking away from a shortcut. I know it's not easy. We live in a world that rewards what's visible, what's posted, what gets likes. But real value isn't in what you show. It's in what you do when no one's watching. That's the line between living like everyone else and living with the discipline and clarity of a Stoic. That's what keeps you standing tall, even when everything around you is falling apart. My friend, forcing yourself to live like a Stoic means choosing to do what's right, even when no one's watching, even when there's no applause, no reward. Because that kind of discipline, that kind of consistency, is what gives you clarity and strength to face any difficulty. When your actions are aligned with your values, you become stronger than your circumstances. And believe me, that strength is what will help you overcome the challenges that today seem like giants. Lesson 27. Your mind commands, your body obeys. 48 hours of running without rest. 2 full days non-stop with muscles destroyed, feet bleeding, and a mind screaming that it's time to give up. That's exactly what David Goggins, a former Navy SEAL, did when he decided to run over 200 kilometers in a single race, without specifically training for it. Halfway through, his body was so exhausted that he collapsed. But when he woke up, instead of quitting, he got up and kept running. Why? Because he understood something that most people never fully grasp. When you think you've reached your limit, your body always has more to give. Yes, you read that right. Goggins calls it the 40% rule. Most people quit when their brain tells them, this is as far as we go. But in reality, they still have 60% of untapped energy and endurance they don't even know exists. The body can always push further, but the mind decides whether you keep going or stop. The problem is almost never physical, it's mental. Think about it. Have you ever been on the couch thinking about going to the gym, but your brain starts negotiating? It's been a long day, I'll start on Monday. Or maybe you're out running and the moment fatigue sets in, instead of pushing just a little more, you decide that's enough. Has it happened to you? It's happened to all of us. Marcus Aurelius understood this well. The obstacle is the way. When something is hard, when it feels difficult, that's precisely when you need to do it the most. Mental resilience is what separates those who quit from those who move forward. Now, imagine it's Sunday morning, and you decide today is the perfect day to clean the house. You start off strong, but after 20 minutes, laziness creeps in. Suddenly, every excuse seems valid to stop halfway. I'll watch a quick video and then get back to it. Maybe I should eat something first. I'll just finish tomorrow. But stop for a second. Do you really need a break? Or is your mind just looking for the easiest way out? This is where mental training comes in. If you want to be unbreakable, try this. First, when you think you can't do anymore, push 10% further. If you're running and feel like you're done, instead of stopping, run 100 more meters. If you're working out and feel like you've hit your limit, do 1 more rep. It's a simple but powerful trick. It teaches your brain that you always have more in you. Second, replace I can't with I'll try. The way you speak shapes the way you act. Saying, I can't wake up early is giving up before you even start. Saying, I'll try waking up early this week shifts the entire mindset. And remember, your body always endures more than your mind believes. Have you ever been completely exhausted but something forced you to keep going? A big exam, a stressful move, a long trip, and you did it. Because when it's truly necessary, we find strength we never knew we had. So here's the most important message of all. Your limit is not in your body, it's in your mind. Break it. Because the more you push your mind, the stronger you become, and that's how you become unbreakable. Lesson 28. The only hand you need is the one at the end of your arm. When everything gets complicated, it's easy to look around for a savior. We hope someone will come with the answer, with the solution, with the help we desperately need. But tell me, how many times has that help never arrived? How many times have you waited for someone else to fix what only you could change? The truth is harsh but liberating. In your darkest moments, no one is coming to save you. The only hand you need is the one at the end of your arm. Now, imagine getting lost in a deep forest. You walk for hours, the light begins to fade, and the temperature drops rapidly. You trip over a hidden root and hurt your knee. Fear tries to take over. Your mind starts screaming that there's no way out, that you should give up, that your end is in that forest. But you take a deep breath, examine your leg, and even though it hurts, you can still move. You turn on your flashlight, scan the terrain, and decide to take slow, steady steps forward. You remember that moss usually grows on the north side of trees and that water flows downward. So instead of standing still, waiting for a miracle, you adapt, you think, you use what you have to save yourself. And little by little, you find your way back. My friend, this may just be a hypothetical situation, but you get the idea, right? When things get tough, you have to be ready to take care of yourself. And you don't need to imagine such extreme situations. Just think about your daily life. You have a problem at home, a broken pipe, an appliance that stops working, or a car that won't start. The easiest thing is to wait for someone to fix it for you, to rely on others to take control. And sure, it makes sense you're not a plumber or a mechanic, but think about this. What if, instead of waiting, you took a moment to figure out a solution on your own? Learn, try, fail, and try again. It's not even about fixing the problem, it's about making sure that next time you'll be more capable, stronger, more self-sufficient. What would Marcus Aurelius do if his bathroom pipe got clogged and his servant wasn't available? Do you think he would go 3 days without bathing, feeling sorry for himself? Of course not. He wouldn't complain, he wouldn't sit around waiting. He would act, he would adapt, and he would do it with calmness. He himself said, "You have power over your mind, not external events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Difficulties won't disappear, but you can decide how to face them. Being self-sufficient is like learning to swim in rough seas. If you let the waves carry you, you'll sink. If you kick and struggle in panic, you'll exhaust yourself. But if you stay calm and look for the best way forward, you'll find a way to stay afloat. In life, do the same. Instead of panicking, look at what you can do with what you have, here and now. The key is taking control of your own life. No one else is responsible for solving your problems. If you wait for someone to pull you out of trouble, you'll never be able to stand on your own. But if you learn to rely only on yourself, you will be free. But where do you start? Develop skills. The more you know how to do, the less you'll need to depend on others. Learn to solve problems, manage your emotions, and be resourceful. This doesn't mean you should never ask for help, but it means you won't need it in order to move forward. And most importantly, stop making excuses. Don't wait for the perfect moment, for everything to be just right. Act. With fear, with doubts, with uncertainty, but act. Action is the only thing that will get you out of where you are. My friend, it's time to stop searching outside for what has always been inside you. The next time you feel like you need help, look at your hands. They have built, they have worked, they have created, and they have the strength to carry you forward. Everything you need is right there. The question is, are you going to use it? Lesson 29. If you don't rest, your mind shuts down. How many times have you forced yourself to keep going when you were already exhausted? You're sitting in front of your computer, trying to focus, but your mind feels like a TV with bad reception. You read the same sentence over and over without understanding a thing. You have a coffee, then another, and still you can't think clearly. And the worst part? Instead of accepting that you need a break, You push yourself even harder. Do you really think that's going to make you perform better? Of course not. You just end up making more mistakes and feeling even worse. Here's a truth that no one tells you. Rest is not a luxury, it's a necessity. Look at your phone. What happens if you use it non-stop all day and never charge it? Exactly, it shuts down. And no matter how much you shake it, hit it, or yell, "Work," it won't turn back on until you give it what it needs: rest. So why do you keep treating your brain like it's any different? The Stoics understood this centuries ago. Seneca made it clear when he said, "Even the sharpest sword needs rest to keep its edge." What good is a perfect weapon if you wear it down until it no longer cuts? What good is a brilliant mind if you exhaust it to the point where it can no longer think clearly? Seneca allowed time for reflection, for calm, for recovery. And he didn't see it as wasted time, but as a strategy to come back stronger. Today, neuroscience confirms it. Rest improves memory, learning, and self-control. And to keep this from sounding like a boring lecture, let me put it simply. Your brain is like a whiteboard. Imagine that every day you write down everything you learn, do, and decide. But if you never erase it, there's less space, more clutter, and more confusion. Sleep is like wiping that board clean, making room for new ideas, new lessons, and clearer decisions. Now, do you see why it's so important? I know what you're thinking. Okay, but my life is too chaotic to get good rest. Don't worry. Here are 3 strategies you can start using today to bring more calm into your life. First, reduce screen time before bed. Yes, I know it sounds cliché, but it makes sense. The blue light from your phone tricks your brain into thinking it's still daytime. So if you go to bed watching videos, reading the news, or scrolling through social media, don't expect your mind to switch off right away. Second, create a nighttime routine. It doesn't have to be complicated. You can read a few pages of a book, write a little, or simply sit in silence and let your body relax. The key is to send a signal to your brain that it's time to disconnect. Third, listen to your body. If you feel like you need to stop, do it. Rest isn't weakness, it's strategy. An athlete doesn't train non-stop because they know their performance depends on recovery. You are the athlete of your own life. Believe me, resting isn't a waste of time. It's recharging your energy so you can be stronger the next day. Because if you truly want to achieve success, you don't need more hours of mindless work. You need more clarity, more focus, and more calm. Lesson 30. Do it anyway, whether you feel like it or not. I remember a time when I set a goal to wake up at 6 in the morning to study a course before heading to work. The alarm would go off, and my first thought was, 5 more minutes. My body ached. My eyes could barely stay open, and every part of me wanted to stay in bed. Most mornings I felt like giving up before even starting. But then I found a trick that changed everything. I made a promise to myself. No negotiations before 8 a.m. That meant no matter how many excuses my brain threw at me, I couldn't argue. I'd get up, half asleep, pull on my clothes, stretch a little, and sit down to study. Most of the time, I didn't enjoy it at first. But every time I finished, I was grateful I did it. That steady effort, even without motivation, opened doors I once thought were impossible. It's what allowed me to change jobs and move forward in ways I never imagined. That's when I realized, waiting to feel motivated is a trap. Motivation is like an unexpected visitor. Sometimes it shows up, but you never know when. If you rely on it, your life stays on pause. Meanwhile, time keeps slipping away. Epictetus said, "It's not enough to know what needs to be done, you have to do it." And he was right. Knowing the theory changes nothing. It's action, repeated day after day, that shapes your character. Marcus Aurelius wrote something in Meditations that almost hurts to read. He admitted that many mornings, he didn't want to get up either. He'd rather stay under the covers. And what did he do? He reminded himself that he was born to work like a human being, not to live like a creature that just sleeps. Think about that. The most powerful emperor in the world, with everything at his fingertips, struggling with the same laziness you feel when your alarm goes off. If he pushed himself to act, how could we not? These days, everyone's talking about habits. And James Clear, author of Atomic Habits, explains it perfectly. Consistency isn't built with massive, epic effort. It's built through small actions, repeated, even when you don't feel like it. It's like a muscle. If you only train when you're in the mood, it never grows. But if you train even when you don't feel like it, you get stronger, often without even noticing. Think about it in your everyday life. You come home exhausted after a long day. Dinner's waiting. The easiest thing is to grab your phone and order fast food. But instead, you walk into the kitchen, chop some vegetables, and cook something simple. It's not what you wanted to do, but you eat better and sleep better. Another example. You plan to go running, but it's raining. Your mind says, "Not today, tomorrow." But you lace up and go anyway, even if it's just 10 minutes. When you get back, you realize the weather wasn't the issue. It was your inner negotiation. Or that classic moment, you're already in pajamas and the trash is full. Your mind whispers, "I'll take it out tomorrow." But you go down now and do it. Those small wins matter far more than they seem. So how do you apply this practically? First, choose one key habit you want to stick with. Just one, not 10. Maybe it's reading daily, working out, meditating, or writing. Commit to never skipping it more than one day in a row. Draw that line and stick to it. If you miss today, tomorrow it happens no matter what. Second, set a physical reminder. Lay out your gym clothes the night before, put your book on the table, open your notebook with the pen beside it. Make it impossible to ignore. That way, when laziness shows up, your environment pushes you to act. And yes, I know, starting is the hardest part. So lower the entry barrier. Don't want to run for 30 minutes? Run for 5. Don't want to read 20 pages? Read 2. Don't want to meditate for 10 minutes? Try 1. The point isn't how much, it's keeping the habit alive. Because once you start, you almost always go further than you planned. One more thing. Stop asking yourself if you feel like doing it. Just do it. In most cases, motivation shows up after you begin, not before. It's like lighting a fire. The spark comes first, the warmth comes later. My friend, here's the truth. Greatness isn't measured by the days you were motivated. It's measured by the days you were tired, lazy, or uninspired, and did it anyway. That's what makes you unstoppable. So the next time your mind says, "I don't feel like it today," respond with, "Perfect. I didn't ask. Do it anyway. Do it tired. Do it in the rain. Do it with doubt. Do it with energy or without it." Because in this journey of forcing yourself to live like a Stoic, every action you take that doesn't depend on what's happening outside brings you one step closer to overcoming whatever life throws your way. Lesson 31. Can you really control everything? Have you ever had one of those days where nothing goes as planned? You wake up early. Today is going to be a great day. You have everything scheduled down to the last detail. You're going to finish that important project, work out, prepare a special dinner. Nothing can go wrong. But then everything starts to fall apart. Your boss asks for something urgent that wasn't in your plans. A friend cancels dinner at the last minute. You call someone expecting support, and instead they hit you with a comment that ruins your mood. You feel frustration creeping in. Nothing is going as expected, and you can't stand it. And this is where the real problem begins. Because we don't just want to control our own lives. We want to control others too. We want people to react the way we imagine, for our plans to unfold exactly as we designed them, for everything to go perfectly. So tell me, how many times has this happened to you? How many times have you tried to change someone, to make them see reason, to convince them to do things the way you believe they should be done? Maybe you give advice to a friend who keeps making the same mistakes. Or you try to get your partner to see things from your perspective, but they don't change. Or you wish your parents would stop worrying so much about you, that they'd understand your way of thinking. And when they don't, you get angry, frustrated, and feel like everything is going wrong. The problem isn't the situation. It's your attachment to the idea that you can control it. Naval Ravikant, investor and entrepreneur, explained this in one of his talks about happiness and personal success. Suffering comes from the desire to control the uncontrollable. He was talking about how so many people spend their lives trying to force outcomes, manipulate circumstances, or change others, when in reality the key is to let go and focus only on what is within our control. And he was right. Because the more you try to force things, the more you resist reality, and the more anxiety, frustration, and stress you accumulate. But this isn't just an idea from modern speakers. Epictetus said it more than 2,000 years ago. Some things are up to us, and some are not. Only those who cling to what they cannot control will suffer. Science backs this up as well. A study from Stanford University analyzed the impact of uncertainty on emotional well-being. How did they do it? They divided a group of people into two situations. The first group was given a task where they had full control over the outcome. The second group was given a task where the results depended on external factors they couldn't influence. Then they measured their stress levels. And do you know what they found? The people who accepted uncertainty showed lower anxiety, greater adaptability, and a more stable emotional state. Meanwhile, those who clung to control felt constantly frustrated and exhausted. Now tell me, which side do you think you'd be on? The side of those who accept what they can't change and focus on what they can, or the side of those who fight against the wind, expecting it to blow in their direction? If you want to learn how to live without every obstacle knocking you off balance and continue on your path to success, I have two challenges for you. First, the "so what" challenge. The next time something doesn't go as planned, ask yourself, so what? Will this matter in 5 years? Because many times stress comes from things you won't even remember in a few months. Now let me tell you about the second challenge. And honestly, I'm almost afraid to say it because I know your first reaction will be a firm no way. But trust me, this could change your life. We'll call it controlled chaos. One day a week, stop planning everything down to the last detail. Allow yourself to go with the flow, without rigid expectations. You'll be surprised at how your mind adapts and how, by letting go of control, you actually gain it. Life isn't a straight highway where everything follows the plan you mapped out. It's more like sailing in open waters. You can't avoid the waves, the storms, or the shifts in direction, but you can learn to adjust your sails, to let go of what isn't up to you and focus on the only thing you truly can control: your decisions, your attitude, and your response to every situation. And that's where real success lies. Not in trying to control everything, but in knowing how to adapt, flow, and take charge of what's truly in your hands. Lesson 32. If it doesn't make you better, why do you keep doing it? We all have habits we repeat without thinking. Checking our phone every 2 minutes, complaining about work, but never looking for another option, arguing over the same things with the same people. And the funny thing is, even though we know none of this makes us better, we keep doing it like robots. Why? Because the mind is tricky. It makes us believe that what's familiar is what's right, that repeating the same patterns keeps us safe. But in reality, all those behaviors do is keep you stuck in the same place. It's like trying to run with your shoelaces tied together. You know you won't get anywhere, that you could move faster, but instead of stopping to untie the knots, you keep dragging your feet. If that sounds crazy to you, then tell me, why do you act this way in other areas of life? Maybe one day, someone said something that made you raise an eyebrow. You should relax more. You're always rushing from one thing to another. You laughed. It's not that easy, you thought. But that sentence stayed in your mind longer than you expected. Because the truth is, you have time to watch 3 hours of random videos but not to meditate for 5 minutes. You have the energy to argue on social media, but not to exercise. You have the willpower to keep making the same mistakes over and over, but not to break free from them. So the question remains, if it doesn't make you better, if it doesn't bring you closer to the life you want, why do you keep doing it? Psychology has an answer. Daniel Kahneman, Nobel Prize winner and author of Thinking Fast and Slow, explains that our mind operates in two systems: the automatic system, which repeats patterns without questioning them, and the rational system, which evaluates and makes conscious decisions. The problem is that we spend 90% of our time on autopilot. We react, we repeat. We stick to what's familiar because it's easier than stopping to question it. Kahneman put it clearly: humans rarely think about their actions. We follow what's familiar, even when what's familiar harms us. And the Stoics understood this over 2,000 years ago. Seneca warned that the worst habit of all is living without questioning how you live. If Marcus Aurelius were in your place, he would see the problem with the clarity of someone who understands the nature of life. He wouldn't waste time on things that don't make him better. He would say, just as he wrote in Meditations, "Stop debating what a good man should be. Be one." Because often you don't find peace, not because life is difficult, but because you cling to what's hurting you. You keep engaging in the same arguments. You keep rushing through life. You keep maintaining relationships that drain you. You keep making decisions that take you further from the person you want to be. The Stoics had a simple rule: if something is beyond your control or doesn't improve your life, let it go. Not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. Today, I want to challenge you to do something. Think of just one thing you keep doing, even though you know it's not good for you. And then ask yourself, why am I still here? What would happen if I simply let it go? Because true peace doesn't come when life bends to your will. It comes when you stop holding on to what's hurting you. The Stoics didn't wait for life to change. They changed their relationship with life. Epictetus said it best: "It's not the load that breaks you, but the way you carry it." My friend, do what I told you Elena did. Let go, free yourself, give yourself the chance to accept, to breathe, to live. Lesson number 33. Your worst enemy is in your head. Imagine this. You're walking down the street, and suddenly you notice something strange. You're not alone. Over your shoulder, there's a mini you, a tiny version of yourself. But this version isn't cheering you on. Instead, it whispers things like, "You can't do it. You're going to fail. Better not even try or you'll make a fool of yourself." It's not a movie villain, not your boss, not a toxic friend. It's your own mind working against you. And here's the problem, my friend. When this voice takes control, it paralyzes you. You don't need the world to put obstacles in your way. You're already carrying them in your head. But tell me, when did you start treating yourself like this? Because we're not born with this negative voice. At some point, without realizing it, you started believing it. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic thinkers, understood this perfectly. We are not affected by what happens to us, but by how we interpret what happens to us. What did he mean? That failure isn't what drags you down. It's the story you tell yourself about it. Rejection isn't what stops you. It's your belief that you're not enough. The real problem isn't what happens outside, but the battle happening inside your mind. And don't think this is just ancient philosophy. Psychologist Alvaro Trujillo explains how our thoughts can sabotage us if we don't control them. He says the brain has a natural tendency to focus on the negative as a survival mechanism. But what happens when this goes too far? You end up living in a mental cage, believing that every mistake is a catastrophe and every obstacle is the end of the road. Now imagine for a moment that this negative inner voice tries to enter an exclusive club, a club where only thoughts that help you move forward are allowed. And standing at the door is a Stoic in a black suit, arms crossed, blocking the way. Every time a negative thought tries to get in, the Stoic says, "Nope, not with that attitude, my friend." Because here's the key question. If someone spoke to you the way you talk to yourself, would you still be their friend? No, of course not. So why do you allow your mind to treat you that way? If you want to be unbreakable, if you want to overcome life's toughest moments, the first step is to change the conversation you have with yourself. So let's do something about it. First, the next time you catch a negative thought, Don't accept it as an absolute truth. Replace it with something more useful. This isn't about lying to yourself with empty positivity. It's about reframing things objectively. Saying, "I'm not good at this," is not the same as saying, "I'm not good at this yet, but I can improve." Second, talk to yourself the way you would talk to your best friend. If a friend told you, "I feel like a failure," what would you do? You'd probably encourage them, remind them of their achievements. But when it comes to yourself, you're the first to attack. It's time to change that. Be the friend you need, even to yourself. And last but super important, do a mental detox. Pay attention to what you consume daily. Social media filled with people showcasing perfect lives, news that only highlights negativity, conversations with people who always complain. All of this feeds that inner voice. Start surrounding yourself with content and people who help you build a stronger mindset. Because if your mind is your worst enemy, it's about time you declare war on it. Not with violence, but with strategy. With every thought you choose, with every word you tell yourself. Because in the end, what you think about yourself defines how you face life. And if you want to be unbreakable, you first have to conquer your own mind. Lesson 34. Remember, everything has an expiration date. Picture an hourglass. From the moment you flip it, the sand starts to fall, and there's no way to stop it. You can cover it with your hand, shake it, even pretend you don't see it. It doesn't matter. Time keeps running, and every grain that drops is a moment of your life that won't come back. It's harsh, but it's true. We struggle to accept it because we'd rather believe there's always more time. Time to make amends, to start that project, to say what we feel. But the hourglass doesn't make deals with anyone. Have you ever walked past a place from your childhood and been shocked to see it's gone? A shop closed down, a park under construction, maybe even someone who's no longer around. That gut punch of reality reminds us, nothing stays the same. And as scary as that may be, it's also an opportunity. Because once you truly understand that everything comes to an end, you stop taking what's in front of you for granted. Marcus Aurelius understood this in his daily life. He didn't see death as a punishment, but as a silent teacher, reminding him that every day was a gift. He wrote, "Don't act as if you're going to live 10,000 years. Death hangs over you. As long as you're alive, as long as it's possible, be good." And that's the key. It's not about living in fear, it's about living with urgency. Not rushing, but living with purpose. More recently, Oliver Burkeman put it another way in his book 4,000 Weeks. Our lifespan, when measured in weeks, is short. But realizing this isn't depressing, it's freeing. Because it forces you to prioritize, to stop wasting time on empty arguments or meaningless tasks, and focus instead on what truly matters. That clarity is what turns an ordinary life into a conscious one. Maybe you'll get it even better with a simple example. You've been meaning to call a friend you haven't spoken to in years. You keep saying, "I'll do it next week." Then one day, you pass by the cafe where you used to meet, and it's closed. You stand there, staring at a for sale sign, realizing that time passed, and you didn't move. You didn't just lose a place. You lost moments that won't come back. That's why, if you truly want to live with the discipline and clarity of a Stoic, you can't keep acting like life is endless. My friend, this reminder isn't here to make you feel sad. It's here to wake you up, to help you realize that every morning you open your eyes is a loan you don't know how long you'll keep. And with that in mind, are you really going to keep spending your days on things that lead nowhere? Here's something simple you can do. Print out a blank calendar, one that shows the full month. Look at it seriously, like it's a map of your life. At the top, write down 3 things you've been putting off for far too long. They don't need to be big dreams. Maybe it's calling someone you miss, writing a few pages, or going for a walk somewhere new. Write them down, no excuses. Then grab a pen and choose the exact day you'll do each of them. Don't write someday. Write it clearly. Tuesday the 15th, Thursday the 22nd. Putting it on paper turns a wish into a commitment. Now look at that same calendar and cross out at least one block of time you know you're wasting. That hour of scrolling when you get home. That Sunday afternoon where you do nothing, but don't even rest. cross it out and replace it with something that adds value. You'll be surprised what happens. When you see it on paper, life stops feeling like a rough draft and starts becoming a conscious choice. And believe me, that's Stoic discipline, not letting your days slip away like sand, but deciding how to use every grain before it falls. And if you've made it this far, listen closely, because what comes next is even more important. You're about to learn the final key, the ultimate technique that can push you to live like a Stoic even in your toughest moments. And trust me, you won't want to miss it, because it might be the difference between staying stuck and finally taking real control of your life. Lesson 35. Dare to see yourself as you really are. Let me ask you, do you really know yourself, or do you just think you do? How many times do you go through life on autopilot without ever stopping to observe who you actually are? It's easy to fool yourself. You tell yourself you're patient, but you lose your temper in traffic. You claim to be disciplined, but then you push off the task you swore you'd finish yesterday. And of course, no one wants to face their contradictions head on, because it's scary to realize you're not as strong as you thought. Do you know the YouTuber Matt D'Avella? From the outside, it looks like he's got everything figured out. Filmmaker, content creator, millions of followers. But he said that putting himself in front of the camera each week forced him to face something he didn't like, his insecurities. He noticed something uncomfortable, seeing his own gestures, his awkward pauses, his nervous tics. It was like looking into a mirror that doesn't lie. Most people would have closed the laptop and avoided watching those recordings again. He didn't. He made himself keep watching, and that honesty helped him refine his style, improve his communication, and even his daily life. Because what you can't see, you can't change. And that's the key. Facing yourself is uncomfortable, but it's the price of growth. You've probably had a similar experience. You hear a recording of your voice and realize you interrupt others way more than you thought. You'd never noticed it, because in your head it didn't seem that bad. But when you hear it, it's obvious. And from there, you've got two choices. Ignore it and keep being the person who cuts people off, or accept it with humility and start working on it. The second option is harder, but it's the one that gets you closer to your best self. The Stoics practice this very thing, even without cameras or microphones. Epictetus emphasized constant self-evaluation. He said, "It's impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." Meaning, if you assume you've already figured everything out, you'll never discover where you fall short. That humility, to look inward, is what opens the door to change. That's why the Stoics ended each day with a mental review of their actions. Not to beat themselves up, but to learn. Where was I fair? Where did I let anger take over? What can I improve tomorrow? It was a habit, a discipline. Seneca did the same. He examined himself like his own judge, but not to punish himself, to grow. He said no one can correct themselves without first examining themselves. And he was right. How are you supposed to improve your patience if you won't admit you're impatient? How can you build discipline if you won't admit you've been putting off the important stuff for weeks? So, how can you start doing this in a practical way? At the end of the day, take a few minutes to mentally review how you acted in the situations that really mattered. You don't need to write it in a journal if you don't want to. Just think about it. Ask yourself, what did I do well? Where did I fall short? What would I do differently tomorrow? That simple check-in is like looking into an invisible mirror. When you do this, don't fall into self-blame. Be curious, not critical. Instead of saying, "I'm a disaster, I always mess this up," shift the question to, "What can I learn from this?" That small change in approach turns guilt into growth. And here's something even more powerful. Share with someone you trust one area where you want to improve. Tell them, for example, "I've realized I struggle to listen without interrupting. Help me spot it." When someone else knows what you're working on, the shared responsibility speeds up your transformation, because now it's not just about you. Someone else is reminding you of who you want to become. My friend, living with Stoic discipline doesn't mean pretending you're perfect. It means having the courage to face your flaws and shadows without dressing them up. so you can shape yourself into the person you want to be. That raw honesty is what gives you the power to overcome most of your struggles, because the hardest enemy isn't out there, it's within. And once you learn to observe yourself honestly, you stop depending on the outside world to grow. So go ahead, dare to see yourself exactly as you are. Real change starts the moment you stop hiding from yourself. Lesson 36. If everything annoys you, look within. There are days when it feels like everything is against you. Traffic moves at a snail's pace. The cashier at the store takes forever. Someone next to you is chewing with their mouth open, and you feel irritation building up inside you, like water rising in a glass about to overflow. But stop for a second. Is the world really more unbearable today? Or are you just more irritable than you should be? Imagine you're carrying a cup filled to the brim with coffee. If someone bumps into you, even slightly, it spills everywhere. But if the cup were only half full, nothing would spill. You get the idea, right? That's exactly how the mind works. When it's overloaded, even the smallest annoyance makes it overflow. It's not the traffic, it's your impatience. It's not the slow cashier. It's your need for everything to move at your pace. It's not the loud chewing. It's that you are overwhelmed. If everything irritates you, the problem isn't outside, it's inside you. We've been taught that the solution is to change what's around us. If traffic were smoother, if people were more polite, if everything went my way. But the Stoics knew something most people ignore. We are not disturbed by what happens to us, but by our thoughts about what happens to us. The same world that seems unbearable to you is being lived calmly by someone else. So what's your excuse for blaming everything around you? The difference isn't in the world, it's in your mind. Look at your daily life. How many times do you argue over insignificant things? A dish left unwashed, someone cutting in line, a message that took too long to arrive. Small things that from the outside aren't worth it, but inside you, they feel like a war. And here's the key question. Is the world really unbearable, or have you lost the ability to adapt to it? Marcus Aurelius would tell you this. You will only find peace when you stop complaining about things outside your control. If everything has been bothering you lately, take a pause and ask yourself, am I exhausted? Fatigue turns patience into irritability. Sometimes it's not the people around you, it's that you need rest. Am I frustrated about something else? More often than not, the thing that makes you snap isn't the real issue. It's not traffic stealing your peace. It's that conversation you've been avoiding. It's not the noise. It's the worries you've been carrying for weeks. Am I stuck in my own head? The more you obsess over how things should be, the more frustrated you'll be with how things are. Not everything has to be perfect. Anger is a symptom, not the cause. And if you keep ignoring what's inside, you'll remain a puppet to every external situation, drifting further each day from the happiness you seek. My friend, accept it. The world is not going to change to match your impatience. The solution is not demanding that everything adjusts to you, but learning to master your mind. Next time something irritates you, instead of reacting as usual, try this. Pause and breathe. 1 second of stillness can save you hours of unnecessary anger. Ask yourself, is this really worth it? Most of the time, the answer is no. Remember that your peace is worth more than any fleeting annoyance. So tell me, will you keep letting every little thing steal your calm? Or will you take back control of your mind? The choice is yours, and that is your greatest advantage. Lesson 37. Don't react to the first hit. Something interesting happened to me recently on the subway. A guy was standing there, pretty serious looking, when someone accidentally bumped into him. It was a rough movement, sure, but nothing serious. In a split second, the guy spun around, tensed up, and started yelling like he'd been attacked. Everyone turned to look, uncomfortable. And then we saw the full picture. The person who bumped into him was on crutches. They'd simply lost their balance. There was no bad intent, no offense. But it was too late. The guy had already exploded, making a whole angry scene. And the worst part? He didn't even apologize once he realized the truth. He just stood there the whole ride, muttering insults like he was still convinced he was right. That moment hit me hard. Not reacting is far more powerful than reacting without thinking, because in that instant, he wasn't in control of himself. He was a slave to that first spark of anger. What could have been a brief, awkward moment turned into a whole ride filled with tension, for him and for everyone around him. I bet that guy had never read Marcus Aurelius. This emperor who dealt with real enemies, palace intrigue, war, and betrayal, still managed not to lash out at the first hit. That's why he said, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." Brilliant, isn't it? While most people think strength is hitting back, the Stoic knows real strength is in choosing not to play that game. The real battle is internal. Is it worth losing my peace over this? And if the answer is no, then silence, or a pause, is the best victory. But you don't need to be in a war zone or ruling an empire to snap like that. It happens right at home. Picture this. Your partner casually asks, "Are you going to be much longer?" Sounds innocent, right? But your tired, defensive mind takes it as criticism. And before you even think, you fire back. "You're always rushing me." A poisoned dart, launched without a second thought. Minutes later, when you find out they just wanted to plan dinner with you, the damage is done. A reaction that could have been avoided with just a couple seconds of pause. Reacting to the first hit is like playing a video game and smashing every button the moment an enemy shows up. You burn out, lose precision, and end up defeated by your own chaos. What would someone with Stoic mental discipline do? They wouldn't mash the buttons. They'd wait, observe, and respond with clarity. My friend, this is the perfect time to learn how to respond with the calm of a Stoic. And believe me when I say, 95% of your problems will disappear like magic. Wondering how? There are some simple tricks to train this. And I'm not talking about abstract philosophy. I mean tools you can actually use in your daily life. For example, try mentally counting to 5 before you respond when something bothers you. Those 5 seconds are a lifesaver. They give your brain time to see the whole picture, not just that first spark. Another useful habit? Shift your focus. If someone does something that irritates you, instead of obsessing over the action, consider the context. Ask yourself, did this person really mean to offend me, or are they just having a rough day? That question instantly changes the story you're telling yourself and lowers the tension right away. And here's one more trick that sounds silly but really works. Smile, or take a deep breath if the situation allows. Not to be polite, but because your body takes that gesture as a signal. No threat. We're fine. It's amazing how something so small can shut down the whole chain of automatic reactions. Know what happens when you start using these pauses? Your whole life shifts. You realize that most arguments, anger, and misunderstandings that drain your energy were never real. They were just rushed responses. And little by little, you start living with the discipline of a Stoic. Strong, clear, and not dependent on what's going on outside. Because when you're in control of yourself during those critical few seconds, the rest of life becomes a lot easier to handle. Lesson 38. Think well and attract the best. Let me tell you a story about a friend. A few months ago, he received life-changing news. A serious health issue, the kind that turns your world upside down. Suddenly, everything became uncertain. Hospitals, medical tests, fear, and worst of all, his own mind working against him. Every morning he woke up with the same thoughts. What if things get worse? What if I never get better? Why is this happening to me? And of course, with thoughts like these, the days felt endless. He felt trapped in a tunnel with no way out. Until one day, during one of those long waits at the hospital, he heard something that clicked. It was a talk by Tony Robbins, the motivational coach, and he said something simple but powerful. The quality of your thoughts defines the quality of your life. My friend kept thinking about it. Where had he heard something similar before? He started researching and realized that Marcus Aurelius had said almost the same thing nearly 2,000 years ago. The happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts. And that's when it hit him. He couldn't control his illness, but he could control how he faced it. So he decided to make a small change. Every morning before getting out of bed, he forced himself to think of something positive, something to look forward to, no matter how small. Today, I'll find something that makes me laugh. Today, I'll enjoy every moment with my family. Today, I'll be grateful for what I do have. The interesting thing? His situation remained the same, but the way he dealt with it completely changed. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful emperors in history, understood that his greatest battle was against his own thoughts. He didn't focus on problems. He focused on solutions. He didn't obsess over what could go wrong. He focused on how to face whatever came his way. That was his key to staying strong in the midst of chaos. And it can be yours too. So now tell me, how are you using your mind? Are you programming it to attract the best? Or are you filling it with worries that are only holding you back? First, reframe your negative thoughts. Every time you catch yourself saying, "This is a disaster," or "I can't handle this," pause and change it. Say, "This is a challenge, but I can learn something from it." Or, "It may not be easy, but I'll find a way." It's not about lying to yourself. It's about training yourself to see solutions instead of problems. Second, distance yourself from people who only see the negative. Negativity is contagious. If you spend your days surrounded by complaints, drama, and people who always find a reason to give up, you'll start thinking the same way. Instead, seek out people who push you forward, who talk about possibilities instead of limitations. And third, visualize positive outcomes before starting your day. This isn't about daydreaming about impossible things. It's about imagining yourself handling situations well. Picture how you want to feel, how you can respond calmly to whatever comes your way. Because when your mind has already rehearsed success, achieving it becomes much easier. In the end, it all comes down to this: your mind is the filter through which you see reality. If you train yourself to think well, you'll attract opportunities, make better decisions, and become the best version of yourself. So, my friend, tell us in the comments, what is it that you want to attract into your life? Write it down with conviction, because everything starts with a thought. Lesson number 39. Motivation is a luxury, discipline is a necessity. I bet everything that when it comes to watching your favorite show, you're always ready. When it's time to go out with friends or indulge in something you love, there's no hesitation. You just do it. But what if I asked you to wake up at 5 in the morning to train? Ah, my friend, that's a different story, isn't it? You can almost feel the excuses in the air. Or when you have to sit down and study after a long, exhausting day. Are you just as eager then? And this is where the problem begins. We move easily when motivation pushes us, but the moment it fades, everything feels like a struggle. And let me tell you something. If you only act when you feel like it, you will never achieve anything great. Motivation is like a firework. It shines brightly, dazzles for a moment, and then disappears. If you depend on it, you'll be stuck in an endless cycle of enthusiastic beginnings and frustrating abandonments. But there's something that doesn't burn out, something far more powerful: discipline. If it is bearable, then bear it. Stop complaining, said Marcus Aurelius. And that is the key. Motivation tells you to act when you feel good. Discipline tells you to act no matter how you feel. It's not about waiting for the perfect conditions. It's about moving forward even when the path is tough. Imagine a writer who only writes when they feel inspired. They'll publish a book every 20 years, or none at all. Now imagine a writer who sits down to write every day, whether they feel like it or not. That writer, sooner or later, will succeed. The same goes for any goal in life. Think about Olympic athletes. They don't wake up every morning wondering if they feel like training. They know their success doesn't depend on their mood. It depends on their commitment. Discipline is what separates those who achieve something from those who only dream about it. And now comes the big question. How do you stop relying on motivation and develop discipline? First, stop waiting for the perfect moment. It doesn't exist. If you want to train, you train. If you want to learn, you study. It doesn't matter if you feel like it or not. Start with small steps, but do it every day. Second, commit to yourself. Don't let yourself down. Keep your word. Self-discipline is a matter of self-respect. Would you stand up a friend on an important meeting? Then why do you stand yourself up? Third, change your internal dialogue. Don't say, "I don't feel like it." Say, "This is what I do." It's not optional. It's not negotiable. It's part of who you are. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. "Do everything as if it were the last thing you do in your life," said Marcus Aurelius. If you work every day as if there were no second chances, you'd be amazed at what you can accomplish. So the next time you think about quitting, remember this: motivation may get you started, but only discipline will take you to the finish line. Stop depending on fireworks. Build a fire that burns forever. Lesson 40. There isn't always a happy ending. Life is not a fairy tale. There isn't always poetic justice or perfect endings. And that's okay. Because if life were designed to always give us what we want, we wouldn't learn anything. Sometimes, no matter how hard you fight, things don't turn out the way you expect. Sometimes the people you love disappoint you. Sometimes you work hard and don't get what you wanted. And if you cling to the idea that life must be fair, you will find yourself in a constant battle against reality. And trust me, no one wins against life. Life will always outmatch you. It's like rowing against the current, hoping the river will change direction. But the river won't change. Only when you let go of the oars and adapt to its course, do you realize you can move forward without exhausting yourself in a pointless fight. Psychology has studied this for years. Have you ever heard of the concept of the just world fallacy? Let me explain. A study conducted at Stanford University showed that many people suffer more from their resistance to accepting reality than from reality itself. When we believe that life should be fair, every failure, every loss, and every disappointment feels like a betrayal. But when we understand that life is neither fair nor unfair, it simply is, we find something far more valuable than a happy ending: peace. The Stoics never said life would be easy. They said the key lies in how we respond to it. Epictetus put it clearly in a powerful phrase: "Do not seek for things to happen as you wish, but wish for them to happen as they do, and you will live serenely." In other words, happiness isn't about changing what happens. It's about changing how you accept it. Because resisting the inevitable only creates suffering. When you let go of the need for everything to end well, then you can finally breathe. You free yourself from the fear of failure. When you accept that life has no guarantees, you enjoy the present more, without anxiety about the future. When you stop expecting happy endings, you realize that true happiness doesn't come from how things end, but from how you choose to live them. If you want to start applying this Stoic mindset to your life, here are 3 key lessons. First, stop asking "why me?" and start asking, "What can I do with this?" You can't control what happens to you, but you can always choose your response. Second, accept that life owes you nothing. No one guarantees you success, love, or recognition. The sooner you accept this, the stronger you will become. And third, redefine what it means to win. Sometimes winning isn't about getting what you wanted. It's about learning something valuable along the way. Life doesn't always have a happy ending, but in every fall, every setback, and every closed door, there is an opportunity to build something new. Don't wait for the perfect ending. Make every moment, no matter how it ends, worth it. Lesson 41. Your thoughts are not reality. Your mind is powerful, but it's also a liar. Yes, you heard that right. Sometimes it deceives you, and it's not even its fault. It's designed to keep you safe, not to make you happy. Since ancient times, the human brain has evolved to detect threats and react quickly to danger. That's why in any uncertain situation it assumes the worst. It's a survival mechanism. Think about it. Thousands of years ago, it was more useful for the mind to interpret a shadow as a predator and run, rather than stay still and find out too late that it was right. Neuroscientist Joseph Ledoux, an expert in the study of fear, explained it clearly. The emotional brain responds to an event faster than the rational brain because its main function is survival. This means that many times, what you feel is not the truth, but an automatic reaction from your mind trying to protect you. Imagine you're walking through the forest and suddenly see something on the ground. Your mind reacts instantly. It's a snake. Your pulse races. Your body fills with adrenaline. You feel real fear. But then you stop. You look closer. It was just a rope. Nothing changed, except your perception. And that's how life works. Most of the time, the problem isn't what happens, but what you believe is happening, what your mind tells you in an attempt to protect you. This happens in your daily life as well. You're walking down the street and someone you know passes by without greeting you. Your mind reacts instantly. They ignored me. They must be mad at me. Did they hear a rumor about me? Your mood shifts. Doubt takes over. Your mind has created a story in mere seconds, but then you find out they didn't even see you. They were distracted, in a hurry, lost in their own problems. None of what you imagined was real. It was just your brain activating that ancient survival system, one that still operates today, even though we no longer live among wild predators. The Stoics already knew that we cannot blindly trust our minds because they often exaggerate, distort, and make us see threats where none exist. Epictetus explained it with brutal simplicity in one of Stoicism's most famous maxims. It is not things that disturb us, but our interpretation of them. It's not rejection that hurts, it's what you believe about it. It's not failure that stops you, it's the fear you construct in your mind. But now that you understand how the mind works, you have no excuse. Start training it. And no, this doesn't mean hacking your amygdala so it never deceives you again. It means pausing whenever your mind tries to steer you away from something out of fear. Asking yourself, what is really happening? Is this thought real? Or is it just my mind trying to tell me something I don't fully understand? Because you cannot find peace if you remain attached to every negative thought that crosses your mind. You cannot live freely if you carry every fear, every doubt, every imagined story that only exists in your head. So start questioning yourself. Every time a thought brings you suffering, pause and ask yourself, why am I feeling this? What story am I telling myself? If it doesn't help you, let it go. If it's not a fact, don't turn it into a truth. Your mind is a powerful tool, but it's also a double-edged sword. It can be your greatest ally or your worst enemy. The difference lies in whether you control it or let it control you. And today, without a doubt, I'll tell you this. You are stronger than your thoughts. You are bigger than your fears. And the only thing truly separating you from the peace you seek is learning to stop believing everything you think. Lesson 42. Calm is your greatest weapon. Imagine you're a Formula One driver. Your hands grip the wheel firmly. The engines roar and the track feels like a scorching desert of asphalt. You're on the final stretch, just seconds away from first place. Suddenly, as you take a sharp turn, the car loses traction. The wheel feels weightless, control slips away, and the world moves too fast. This is the defining moment. You have two options. The first, panic, freeze, react with fear, and jerk the wheel impulsively, without thinking. The result? You end up in the gravel, off the track, and out of the race. The second option, stay calm. Feel the car sliding, but don't let desperation take over. Ease off the accelerator for a moment, correct with precision, and regain control at just the right time. The best drivers in the world aren't the fastest. They're the ones who keep a cool head when everything spins out of control. They don't fight the curve, they understand it and use it to their advantage. Life works the same way. It's not about avoiding problems, it's about learning to respond with clarity when they show up. If you look at the most successful people, you'll notice something they all have in common. It's not that they never face crises or that their lives are perfect. It's that when the world turns against them, they stay on track. They don't lose control. They don't let fear dictate their decisions. Ryan Holiday, author of The Obstacle is the Way, calls this a strategic advantage. He says real strength isn't in speed or aggression, but in the ability to stay composed when everything seems to be falling apart. And this isn't just empty motivation. It's because a calm mind makes better decisions. Marcus Aurelius understood this centuries ago. If you are disturbed by something external, it is not the thing itself that troubles you, but your judgment about it. And today, neuroscience backs this up. When we react impulsively, it's the amygdala taking control, the part of the brain responsible for emotional responses like fear, anger, and frustration. But when we manage to stay calm, we activate the prefrontal cortex, the part that allows us to reason, evaluate, and make intelligent decisions. A study from the Institute of Cognitive Neuroscience in London found that people who train their ability to stay calm under pressure not only experience less stress, but also achieve better long-term results. They don't make decisions based on momentary emotions, they act based on strategy. Now, I know what you're thinking. This all sounds great, but how do you actually apply it in real life? Because sure, it's easy to talk about staying calm when you're watching a video or reading a book. The real challenge comes when reality hits, when the curve appears out of nowhere, and you feel like you're about to lose control. That's why here are 2 strategies to train your mind starting today. The first is the observer technique. Imagine you're not the one experiencing the situation, but rather a spectator watching a movie. What advice would you give the main character? This exercise helps you distance yourself emotionally and think more objectively. And here's the strategy that will truly set you up for success. Don't wait for a crisis to practice this. Train your calmness every single day. How? For example, imagine you come home from the grocery store, start unpacking, and suddenly, the carton of eggs decides to do parkour off the counter and onto the floor. A disaster. Naturally, your first instinct might be to yell, curse gravity, and wonder why life hates you. But this is your test. If something as small as this can steal your calm, what do you think will happen when you face a real problem? If you can't control your mind in the small moments, you won't be able to in the big ones either. Calm doesn't magically appear when you need it most. It's a muscle that you train every day. So tell me, do you really want to keep reacting like a rookie driver who loses their head at the first sharp turn? If staying calm makes you stronger, why are you still letting the world push you off track? Forcing yourself to live like a Stoic doesn't mean suppressing who you are. It means training your mind, so it doesn't depend on what's happening outside. That discipline, that clarity, is what helps you overcome almost every difficulty and rise with calm, even in the middle of chaos. Because when you choose to live this way, you're no longer a victim of circumstances. You become the owner of your life. If you've made it this far, write in the comments, "I choose to live like a Stoic." That tells me you're part of this community that doesn't give up. Subscribe and turn on the bell so we can walk this path of wisdom together. You've got more videos on screen waiting for you, because every step counts. Click now, and let's keep learning together.